Welcome to the stream. A longer song there. I forgot how long that song was, and then I was like 2 or 3 minutes in, and then I saw there was still another 3 to 4 minutes. I was like, holy shit. 6+ minute song these days? Welcome to the stream. Saturday night. Higurashi, we're here. I'll bring it up because before I forget, because very much likely to forget if I don't say it now. A couple weeks ago or a week ago, where I was leading up, that I was like, oh, I've got like a work event thing I'm gonna have to show up to on a Saturday night at some point. I think that fell through. So or got moved to Friday night. Excuse me, maybe a Friday night. I think. Last I heard about it. So there should be no disruption unless it changes again. No disruption to Higurashi Saturday. I think it's happening at the end of the month now. End of month on Friday? I think it's the 30th. Not like anyone cares. I mean, it's going to impact Friday night stream. There almost will for sure be no Friday night stream in 2 weeks' time. But at least Higurashi Saturday is free. So get that out of the way. So yeah, welcome to the stream. Hope you had a great week. Hope you had a great Saturday. I had a pretty chill one. Let's see. Let's boot up the game, yeah? I feel low energy. Apologies for that. It's been a long day. I was up early. Yada, yada, yada. Let's recap the last couple of Higurashi. So a week ago from today, we had Rina do the thing. And what do I mean by the thing? You might answer with the murder of the lady taking advantage of her dad that she loves and wants to defend, and also Tepe Hojo. And to that I say you're missing a very important critical aspect of this, especially to this stream. Rina killed the character who I was also calling Rina. Gone and definitely forgotten. No longer will we have two characters that I'm pronouncing the same way. She honestly did the stream and us, me, the listeners, you, a solid by killing off the character that I was calling also Rina. Or Rina, second Rina. She just got rid of her. Our Rina, or Rina Prime, was like, I will not have this stand any longer. And I will do you a solid, Austin. And I was like, thank you, Rina. So she took her out. Followed up by Tepe Hojo. Took him out. Methodically, quickly, easily. That was a week ago. The dad apparently doesn't care to question. Maybe for the best. You know, I brought that up before. I was like, man, it's kind of weird, right? Like, she just did the thing, and then the dad, like... The dad, at one point, I think he was like, whoa, what happened to them? Oh, and, like, there was mention that he was always, for a while, he was afraid they would show back up, and she'd be like, no, they're not showing back up. But no further questioning from him. And then it made me think, over the last few days, like... If I had a daughter, and then these two people that were apparently conspiring to take advantage of us or harm us in some fashion, they stopped showing up, and maybe my daughter, if I got like a hint that my daughter murdered them, I too wouldn't ask any questions. So honestly, I feel for him. I feel for him is not that I stumbled there and stuttered because I was looking for a different phrase. I feel the same way as him, potentially. Maybe he does know, and he's just like, I'm not going to ask her. I love my daughter, even if she's a murderer. It's a murder for good. And then Tuesday's stream happened, and that was when I accidentally came across as apparently too pro murder. But essentially, Tuesday's stream was the jumping back then into the I guess we would probably call like current-ish time, where she's explaining the whole situation to her club friend group. So good on her. We love a person that will murder and then just stand by their decision. But then, of course, the conflict there in Tuesday's stream, the last stream of this, was that Ketchi, of course, feeling like that shouldn't be sitting right with people, he challenges her and says, why did you have to let it get to that point? You could have told us much earlier. We could have helped you. And she fired back. She clapped back, as they say. And she said, no. Ketchi, you weren't here last year, I think. But last year, there was a similar situation to the situation I'm going through. With a boy named Satoshi. He was being terrorized. He was not getting any outside help, despite other people knowing he was in trouble. And so he finally took it upon himself to take out the aunt at the time. So she was like, I saw this all unfold basically before. No one helped him. Everyone knew. Rika knew. Mion knew. No one helped him. And now look what transpired at the end of that. So she's like, why would I tell people? I'm not going to get any help. Ketchi finally comes around. He's like, okay, yeah, the whole thing was Rika and Mion. We're like, we accept our sins. We understand we fucked up in this situation. We apologize. Kind of like, almost like this. We understand we fucked up back then. Now we're airing of the grievances. Hopefully we're able to move on from this now, kind of thing. Get better from this. I made a reference to the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer, because that's kind of what it is now, right? I mean, not exactly. But, and it's been forever since I've seen that movie. But basically, alright, now the group knows that Rina murdered a couple people. How cool are they going to be with that? And they seemingly pretty cool. I mean, we know that, Mion comes from a very powerful family where things like that have happened, would happen, will happen. Again, lingering question. I brought this up last stream, but who or what is Rika? What is the story building towards with Rika? What is happening with her? My girl. And then I think towards the end, if I'm not mistaken, I think they brought up the fact that we're probably heading to the Watanagashi Festival stretch of time here. I imagine that's what we're doing. So that's great, question mark. And you know what that means. I was going to say, for the third stream in a row, I was going to be like, I have no idea where this is going to go. But I'm going to just take a wild stab, because around this time, we now know who starts showing up. Fucking Tomatake and blonde-haired lady, a.k.a. Takano. They're bound to show up, right? They gotta show back up. They're gonna show back up tonight, aren't they? They're gonna rear their heads this away, and I have to look at Takano on my screen more. Certified Takano hater here. Let's go. Was it last week? last Saturday I had the kombucha. Oh,
笑い
shit.
続けていればいつか幸せになれると信じてきた。
She believed that she kept
誰かの
laughing,
ことを
that she would
思
be
えば
happy. She believed that if she
相
cared
手
about
も自
someone,
分を思っ
that
てくれる
person
と
would
信
care
じ
for
て
her
きた。
as well.
悲しかった思い出を置き去りにして、
Leaving the sad memories
少
behind,
女は
the
明
girl
日を
turned
見つ
forward
めようと
to
前を
face
向
tomorrow.
く。甘えず頼らず、
Without being spoiled,
たった一人で
without relying on
未来を
anyone,
切り開
all
くため
alone,
に、
to carve a path toward the future.
その先にあるものは
What awaits
幸
her?
せか、
Is it
それ
happiness?
とも
Is it
不幸せ
unhappiness?
か。罪滅ぼし、
It's probably unhappiness.
誰かを愛したかっ
I
た。
wanted to love someone,
でも本当は
but the truth is,
誰
I
かに
wanted to be
愛
loved.
されたかった。
Me too. Oh, me too.
はいいらっしゃいませ
It's just like me. I was saying before I got cut off there, no kombucha tonight. That might have been a one and done try for me. I don't think it was bad, but it was kind of interesting. I only have water tonight. Only water. Checking audio levels. Okay. Fessel Stall, welcome! Oh, I clicked out.
特製のフランクフルトはいかがですか
Would you like a hot dog?
はいよ
Our shaved ice is the best you've ever tasted.
シロップはイチゴにメロンにブルーハワイがあるよ
You can have it with strawberry syrup, melon syrup, or Hawaiian blue syrup.
おみくじたこ焼きいかがですか
Try our takoyaki roulette!
当たりにはマスタードがげっしり
The winner's packed with a ton of mustard. Gross mustard. If there's two things in life I hate, it's Takano and mustard. There are a great many booths at this year's Wadnagashi Festival. Anything can become a festival if there are vendors selling food and music for bond dances, I guess. Or, I thought. It's still June, but it had been extremely hot the past few days, almost as if it's already summer. When you have a June festival with bond dance music under this kind of weather, the only thing that's missing to make it a perfect summer festival is fireworks. This is Kawagai. Oishi-san, can you hear me? Over! I heard a voice coming from my portable radio. With this earphone, it looks a little like I'm secretly listening to the horse races while on duty.
はいおいしいです
This is Oishi. Boost that just slightly.
感度良好
Nope. Take it back. Take it back. I can hear you loud and clear. The town councils gave us a lot of food. We have oden, yakisoba, pork belly stew, and, some barley tea. Yakisoba pan? No.
その麦茶勤務中に飲める麦茶
Do you mean the barley tea we can drink on duty?
飲めない麦茶
Or the one we can't drink on duty? Well,
その麦茶缶ならもらっといてください
if it's canned drink, I'll take it.
コップなら自体でお願いします
If it's in a cup, don't worry about it. Roger that. And all the members of the town council are here to say hi. We have the mayor and the head of the Sonozaki family, too.
お寮のばあさま
What, that old bag Oryu's there?
やだな大石は巡回中でいつ戻ってくるかわからないとか言ってごまかせません
Can you tell her that I'm patrolling right now and don't know when I'll be back? Well, I don't think I can do that for you, sir. She knows you have a portable radio, so she told me to call you and bring you back here. She looks really mad. It's like standing right next to him. Yeah.
あのばあさま、死ぬときは絶対脳梗塞ですね。
I'm sure it'll be a stroke that kills her.
了解了解。すぐに戻ると丁重にですよ。
Roger that. Tell her with extreme courtesy that I'll be back soon.
お伝えください。
Please. Oh well, guess I'll have to go back and mingle with the locals. All of a sudden, a group of kids came running towards me from behind. So wait, are we officially from, like, Oishi perspective permanently now? These damn kids. Okay. After a quick look at them, I noticed that they were the granddaughter of the old bag and her friends. They occupied a corner of the shooting gallery stall, making a lot of noise. Mion Sonozaki. When acting her age, she's a cute, normal girl. But do I ever hate it when she acts like a member of the Sonozaki family? She'll be the boss of the Okinomiya Yakuza territory in 10 or 20 years. Just you wait and see. And while I was thinking things like that, I noticed that Mion wasn't the one taking leadership of her group this time. It was the boy. That boy, I know him. He just moved here recently. The boy from the Maibara mansion. Kechi Maibara-kun, was it? I heard that the Maibara family is from the city, and they're supposedly very rich, too. But he doesn't flaunt his family's wealth, and he has a good reputation because of that. Even though he just moved here, he's already adjusted to his new school, and he's popular with his classmates, too. Everyone in the village seems to like him as well. He's very interesting to watch as a person of many moods. Boys of his age sure have a lot of energy. Ah, to be young again.
Oi! 次はレナだぜ。
Hey, you're up next, Rina.
ここでレナはかなり美味しいタイミングだぜ。
You're lucky, it's your turn.
大丈夫レナ？
Rina, are you okay?
具合悪いんじゃないの？
Are you feeling sick?
ごめん。
I'm sorry.
ちょっと射的は横で見てたいかな。
I guess I have to pass on taking a shot.
なら無理をしないで休んでいるといいのです。
Okay, you should take a break for a bit.
では
So,
レナさんを飛ばしてここでいよいよ真打ち。
that would make it my turn, no?
私の出番でございましてよ。
Victory shall be mine. It looked like only 4 of them were having a good time. The girl called Rina seemed outside of that circle of smiles. Her name is Rina Ryugu. Rina Ragusas. What was her real name? I couldn't remember, but I can check when I get back to the station. Rina is only a nickname. I believe she moved here a year before Maibara-kun did. Her mother divorced her father or something like that. She's a strong girl who does all the housework by herself. She's a very modest girl, I'm told, which is rare in this era. Unlike Maibara-kun, it seemed like she hadn't really opened up to her friends just yet. They had looked like a group of 5, but there's distance between her and the others. It's a little sad, you know? Maibara-kun had become a part of the village, but Rina is still by herself. Well, that's just how it looks to me. Hey, Shisan! The chief and the section manager are here! I'm doing the covering my mouth, mostly with my hand, which I've done in the past, but I don't think it's very accurate for, like radio transmissions, so apologies about that. Please come back as soon as possible.
おいし了解。
Roger that.
地域のお祭りにまで挨拶に来るなんて、うちの所長は地域交流に豆だな。
I can't believe the chief came all the way here just to say hi to the locals.
沖宮の祭りに来たって話は聞いたことないのに。
I guess he's very dedicated to community service, eh?
こちら高杉です。
Ah, this is Takasugi.
大石さん聞こえますか？どうぞ。どうぞ。
Hey, Shisan, can you hear me? Do you copy? Over.
はいはい大石です。
Yes, yes, I hear you.
ただいま全速力で帰還中ですよ。
I'm on my way back right now.
もう1分ほどお待ちを。
I'll be there in a minute. If I don't hurry up, even the chief might end up calling me. I ran back to the headquarters tent. Oh my god. I fucking called it, of course. Oh, is it? Oh, are we, like, montage their whole situation? We've known it. It's well-tread ground. We all know how it shakes out. We don't need them. Fuck them.
おいさん、先生が到着してます。
Well, I guess the point is, right? I think that the game is just, or the story is just showing us that that's now taking place. But since we, for whatever reason, have shifted to Oishi's perspective, he wasn't, like, necessarily a part of all that, right? So, it's for the best. Oishi-san, Dr. Irie is here.
ああ、どうもどうも。
Oh, thank you so much for coming.
どうですか、入江の先生。
So, what do you think, Dr. Irie? Oishi entered the cordoned off area. In there, people from forensics were taking pictures of the corpse from various angles. Irie was squatting down next to the dead body of Jiro Tomatake. When he stood up, he looked pale.
信じられません。
Oh, they're dead. Oh, man. I can't believe... Or there. I said they're dead. As if I'm not fully under the belief that, you know, obviously Tomatake does not actually die. Unfortunately. Irie says, I can't believe it.
そりゃ私だって信じられませんよ。
I know. I can't believe it either.
初見で見た限り、仏は喉をかきむしっています。
As far as I see, he clawed out his throat
それも自分の手でです。
with his bare hands.
こいつはまっとうな死に方じゃない。
This isn't a normal way to go.
十中八九、何らかのヤバめな薬物でしょう。
Most likely it was the cause of some drug or something.
彼は何らかの薬物の常習者だったということでしょうか。
Are you saying he was a drug addict?
さあね。
Who knows?
そいつを調べるのはどうやら我々の仕事になりそうです。
I guess it's going to be my job to find that out.
大石さん、
Oishi-san,
この角材は
what's with this 2x4?
多分仏が振り回したんじゃないかと思います。
Maybe he was swinging it around?
で、途中で捨てて喉をかくのが楽しくなっちゃったんじゃないかと。
Then he threw it away and had more fun clawing at his throat, I guess.
角材を何のために振り回したんでしょう。
Why was he swinging a piece of lumber around?
自衛のためと考えるのが一番自然だと思います。
He probably did in self-defense.
仏の体に外傷がいくつかあるのに気づいてます？
Did you notice there are several external injuries on his body?
ええ、打撲傷を思わせる跡がいくつか散見できます。
Yes, I can see some bruises.
ってことは一番考えられるストーリーは仏が祭り終了後沖宮へ帰る途中ここで何者かに襲われた。
The easiest explanation I can think of is that he was attacked by someone on his way home to Okinomiya from the festival.
それで取り押さえられて怪しげな注射とかそういうのをされてその結果錯乱させられて死に至らしめられた。
He was seized by the culprit, given a shot of some kind of dangerous drug, went crazy, and died.
喉をかきむしるように誘導できる薬物なんて聞いたことがありません。
I've never heard of any drug that can make people claw out their throats.
私もそっちは専門じゃありませんが薬物中毒の一つに自傷行為ってあるらしいじゃないですか。
I'm not a specialist, but many drug addicts injure themselves when they're in a terminal condition.
まあその辺はうちの鑑識のじい様が調べてくれるでしょう。
Well, sure the old man and friends will take care of the investigation.
おいさん、失礼します。
Excuse me, Oishi-san.
ここから数百メートルのところに富武二郎のものと思われる自転車が見つかりました。
We found a bicycle believed to belong to Jiro Tomatake about 100 meters away from here.
お、そうですか。ありがとうございます。
Oh, that's great. Thanks for the find.
何か手がかりとかは？
Any other clues?
いえ、初見では特には。
Not yet.
今、鑑識が言っています。
They're investigating it right now.
じゃあつまりその自転車があった場所が襲撃場所と考えていいんでしょうね。
So that means the place where the bicycle was found is most likely the place he was attacked.
それで戦ったり逃げたりしてここまで来た。
And then he ran away from the suspect. Thanks, Oishi. And then he ran away from the suspect and ended up here. Oishi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Irie was looking at the miserable corpse of Tomitake and kept saying the same thing over and over.
ありえない。
It's impossible.
絶対にありえない。
It's just impossible.
先生、ありえちゃったんだから仕方がないです。
Doctor, it happened, so it was possible, okay?
発想を柔軟にしましょう。
Try to think flexibly.
まあ先生でもこんな死体はなかなか見慣れてるものじゃないか。
Although I get that you don't really see something like this every day despite being a doctor.
先生はもう結構ですよ。
Anyway, thanks for your cooperation.
お帰りになられて十分休んでください。
You can go home.
救命活動でお呼びしたはずだったんですが、無駄足になってしまって申し訳ないです。
We called you here for emergency medical care, but it looks like it was a waste of a trip. Sorry. Oishi stuck his head out of the blue tent and asked, can anybody give him a ride home? Irie gasped all of a sudden as he turned to Oishi.
そうだ。高野さんは
What about Takano-san?
高野さんはどうなったんです？
What happened to Takano-san?
え？
What?
おお宅の看護師さんの？
Oh, your nurse?
多分富武さんと一緒だったと思うんです。
I think she was with him.
高野さんは無事なんですか？
Is she okay? I think she's more than okay.
彼女の電話番号はわかります？
Do you know her phone number?
もちろんです。
Of course.
くまちゃん、
Kuma-chan,
入江の先生に電話番号を聞いて署から在宅確認を取らせてください。
get her phone number from Dr. Irie and make someone at the station call her house.
了解っす。
Understood.
先生、番号。
Doctor, can I have the number?
はい。よろしいですか？
Yes, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Kumagai got the phone number from Irie, repeated back, and then dashed away from the blue tarps.
先生、
Doctor?
高野さんと仏は確か親しい仲でしたよね。
Takano-san and Tomitake-san were close friends, right?
ええ。
Yes.
何かトラブルがあったとか、そういうのは聞いたことがあります？
Have you heard about any troubles between them?
まさか
No,
聞いたことないです。
not even once.
仲のいい二人でした。
They were very close.
何事もなけりゃいいんですがね。
Well, I hope she's okay.
下手すりゃ仏か、それとも星か。
In the worst case, she could be dead, or she could be the culprit.
なるほど。看護師なら怪しげな薬物を取り扱えてもおかしくはないですよね。
I see. Nurses have access to dangerous drugs.
そんな薬品はうちの診療所にはありませんし、あったとしても厳重に保管されています。
We don't have anything like that in my clinic. Even if we did, we'd be extra careful with them.
高野さんに持ち出せるわけがない。
There's no way Takano-san could smuggle out a drug from my clinic.
それでも一般人よりは容易でしょ。
But it's easier for nurses to do it than for regular people, right?
ですからそもそもそんな薬物は聞いたことがないし、当診療所にも存在しません。
Like I said, I've never heard of a drug like that, and I don't have anything like that in my clinic.
大石さん、留守のようです。
Oishi-san, she isn't at home.
署の待機組の方で直接訪問すると言ってます。
The standby unit says they're going to go to her house to check.
先生、すみませんが、高野さんの住所を教えてください。
Doctor, can you give me your address?
くまちゃん、
Kuma-chan,
それプラス県警に今夜出た身元不明の女性死体がないか確認を取ってください。
can you also check if the police headquarters has found any unidentified female bodies tonight?
あるいは県外の可能性もあるんだ。
Maybe we should check the other prefectures too.
課長に近県にも同様に身元不明の女性死体が出ていないか確認を取るよう伝えてください。
Tell the section manager if he can call the headquarters in the nearby prefectures and ask if they have any unidentified female bodies.
了解っす。
Yes, sir.
高野さんも殺されているということですか？
Are you saying that Takano-san might also be dead?
さてどうでしょうね。
Well, I don't know. This is no laughing matter, Oishi.
まだ外車とも星とも決まったわけじゃありません。
I don't know if she's dead or if she's the culprit.
もちろん無関係って可能性だって残ってます。
Of course, it's possible she's not involved at all.
明日は月曜だってのも構わず、その辺の飲み屋で飲んだくれてる可能性もありますからね。
She might just be getting drunk in a bar somewhere.
信じられない。
It's unbelievable.
どうしてこんなことが。
Who does things like this?
まあ私だって信じられないです。
Well, it's unbelievable to me too.
品見沢村連続開始事件。
This fits with the rest of the mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa.
これで5年目ですよ。
It's been 5 years now.
お社様のたたりが5連続ってことになっちまいます。
That would make this the 5th curse of Oyashiro-sama.
さあ、なんとか今年で尻尾を掴んでやりたいな。
Damn it. I've got to get whoever's behind it this year for sure.
定年前にこの山だけはなんとか片付けたいんです。
I really want to put an end to these cases before I retire. Oishi hates the curse of Oyashiro-sama. It had been leading him around by the nose for 5 consecutive years. The victim of the first year, the manager of the dam construction site, was his friend. Despite his desire to avenge his friend, the mystery had only deepened, and one case followed another, year after year. Oishi would be retiring next March. As a retiree, let's make sure, so the right, he'd be able to ask about the progress of the investigation, but he wouldn't be able to take the initiative anymore. In other words, this year was his last chance for revenge. Would he have to put his head in the lion's mouth to capture the culprit? Oishi quietly clenched his fist. I believe that this maze has an exit. Maze is a very convenient word. A maze always has an exit. You don't call it a maze if it doesn't have one. I know I'm on the right path towards the exit of this maze. I used to miss these minor divergences, but now I don't miss anything. I don't make any mistakes. This time I could feel a response that was different than all the other times. I'm sure I can finally get to the exit of this maze. But no matter which path I chose to come to this point, Jiro Tomatake always dies. Huh? Huh? Definitely gonna want to reread that line. It might just be a wording thing. No matter which path I choose to come to this point, Jiro Tomatake always dies. It's weird, right? Because that line taken in context makes it seem as if, and this is something we talked about, God, ages ago now in this series, right? Where I talked about, like, I know I'm theorizing here, and maybe this is wrong, but, like, especially early on in this series, I was talking about, like, especially coming off of Umineko, I was like, okay, we're seeing the same stretch of time over and over again. Are they all happening within the same timeline? And then you start seeing, like, chapters 2, 3 kind of unfold, and there's slight differences and different things are happening, and you're like, well, it can't, some of these things don't feel like they could be happening at the same time unless there's something really tricky going on, which is always possible. But there's, like, You know, there's the instance of like, fuck, what was it? It was in chapter 3. The happenings of chapter 2 were then the fake story that the friend group, I think, was giving Ketchy in chapter 3. His cover story, basically. So we saw the cover story unfold in chapter 2. So it was different. And again, there might be some trick to that all. But then you have to start thinking, like, are we really in some kind of, like, different, I don't want to say butterfly effect, but different timeline effects where different courses are somewhat shaping different things. Again, maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but when Oishi, and then you have to say, like, if this line is from Oishi's perspective, he says, no matter which path I choose to come to this point, Jiro Toмотake always dies. Then you have to think, okay, we know Oishi is hell-bent on figuring out the case. We've seen from previous chapters how important it was to him, his persistence with questioning people, getting physical with people even if he needs to. But if the interesting part of that, with that line then, is he somehow aware of all these different timelines? Or again, is that just a weird quirk of the story? Or is there actually, again, we bring this with the whole what is or who is Rika? Is there a slight meta level to this? Again, much like in Umineko at certain points. Although Umineko, of course, had like 4 or so layers. I always talked about during the Umineko stream. Technically, it was like 5 layers or something. If you wanted to consider me reading Umineko, and then there's the viewers watching me read Umineko, so they're a layer above me. And then I'm reading Umineko, and then the things are happening on the board. Whatever. We can't go into that whole thing. But I'm saying, like, are we getting into that area? Are we crossing into that type of situation? And if we are, what are the implications that Oishi can see the different timelines? Because that would be crazy. Oishi is this powerful character who keeps failing to solve the case, then goes back, starts slightly down a different path, changes a couple things. Or maybe this is all wrong. Maybe I'm not looking at it right. That's also very possible. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe I need to turn my brain off. Rina had been sick ever since that day, and she hadn't been able to join in on club activities as often since. Yeah,
まだちょっと風邪っぽいの。
I still feel feverish.
そうでございますの。
You do, huh?
それは残念ですわね。
That's a pity.
なあレナ、
Hey, Rina,
たまにはパーッとはしゃいでみないか。
why don't you just try and play with us today?
多分元気に遊べば吹っ飛ばせると思うんだよ俺は。
I think you'll feel a lot better if you blow off some steam with us.
そうだね。それはおじさんも同感だね。
Mm-hmm. Got this old man's agreement.
そうかな。かな。
Do you think so? Do you?
横になっている方がかえって毒になることもありますです。
Sometimes resting too much is bad for you.
そうですわよね。
They're quite correct.
病は気からとも言いますですわ。
All illness comes from the mind, don't you know? Everybody had suspected for a while that Rina isn't really sick, at least physically. It's just that many things happened to her at once. She caught a mental cold. That's why I thought she would get better once she played with us, just like we used to. It seemed like Rina was aware of that too. She knew that she had to get out of her state of depression soon. She wanted to get better, and she wanted to have fun again every day.
よし、
Okay,
私も参加する。
I'll do it.
オッケー。
Okay! No, she says, great!
そう来なくちゃね。
That's the spirit.
じゃあ今日はレナの病み上がりも少し加味してテーブルゲームから種目をチョイスしよう。
Consider the fact that Rina is still recovering from her illness. Let's play a tabletop game today.
何がいいかな、何がいいかな。
Let me see, let me see. Mion started rummaging through her locker, humming to herself. She took one game after another from the locker and put them aside. That locker definitely didn't obey the laws of physics. The amount of games she took out from the locker was more than what it could physically hold.
お、こんなのもあったね。
Oh, I forgot about this one.
久しぶりにやってみようか。
Let's try this.
今日は本格派推理ゲームでいこう。
Today we'll be playing this detective game.
ほ
Oh,
う、なんだよそれ。
what's that?
面白そうだな。
Sounds interesting.
犯人と凶器、犯行現場の3つを当てるゲームなの。
Well, this is a game where you guess the culprit, the murder weapon, and the scene of the crime. I wonder what game that could possibly be.
結構頭を使うんだよ。
It's a game where you use your brain.
一度やればすぐに覚えてしまいます。
You'll pick it up as you play.
ちゃんとメモに整理していけば大丈夫なのです。
All you need to do is note down the information you have. Ho, 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 ho.
情報の整理にはちょっとしたコツがありますのよ。
In other words, you need to learn the trick of note taking.
知的な私の最も得意とするジャンルでございますわね。
This is a game for intelligent people like myself. The rules don't seem that difficult. In short, it's a game where you sound out the cards each player holds in order to try and reason out the identity of the cards first drawn out of the deck. There are plenty of games in different formats where you try to identify something hidden in the least number of steps. This one just happens to be a competitive one of those. The key to winning this game would be how well you can organize your information. We usually like to play athletic games so that we could run around a lot, but in our club, you have to excel both academically and athletically.
よしよしよし、なんだか面白くなってきやがった。
Alright, alright. This is gonna be great.
やろうぜやろうぜ。
Let's play.
レナ、今日こそ曖昧になってるあの水鉄砲勝負の時の白黒をつけてやる。
Rena, do you remember how we still haven't decided the winner of the water gun battle? I'm going to settle it today, once and for all.
そうだね。
Oh, are you?
よーし、レナも本気で行くからね。
Then I'm not going to go easy on you.
レナが本気なら、僕も本気を出さないといけませんです。
If Rena is getting serious, I'll have to get serious too.
ですわね。
Yes, indeed.
あの水鉄砲の一件以来、ケイイチさんとレナさんの評価を改めましてよ。
Since that water gun battle, I have reevaluated Kechi-san and Rena-san.
容赦なく行かせていただきますわ。
I'm going to be merciless today.
よしよし、盛り上がってきたね。
This is getting exciting.
おじさんもこういう暑さを期待してたんだよ。
This old man's been waiting for everyone to get this fired up.
よし、
Excellent.
行ってみよう。
Let's do this.
よし行くぜ。
Are you ready?
俺がナイフで書斎はどうだ。
I did it with a knife in the library.
あるよ。
Okay.
レナはね、ケイイチ君毒薬で玄関ホールだよ。
My turn. Ketchikun did it with the poison in the hall.
私はこれですわね。ミオン、ピストル、ラウンジですわ。
My turn. Mion did it with a pistol in the lounge.
ピストルはあんたが持ってるんでしょ。
You're holding the pistol, aren't you?
下手なフェイクは意味ないよ。
You're bluffing.
犯人と凶器は特定できたと思います。
I think I know the suspect and the murder weapon.
犯行現場が2択なのです。
I've narrowed the scene of the crime down to 2. How?
リカちゃんも？
You're good, Rika-chan.
私は犯人が2択で特定できない。
I've narrowed the suspect down to 2, but it's hard to pin down which one it is.
コツは相手の質問内容からも何かのヒントを得ることですのよ。
I'll give you a tip. There's always a hint in the questions the other players ask you.
それが分かれば、時には相手の手札で答えが分かることもありましたよ。
If you figure it out, you could even solve the whole mystery by the order of the cards the others put down on the table.
なるほどな。
I see.
くそ、甘く見てたか。
Damn it. I underestimated the depth of this game.
やべえ、メモがぐちゃぐちゃで意味がわからなくなった。
Oh no, my notes are such a mess. I can't even read my own handwriting. Get wrecked, Ketchy.
メモに書き取るコツが分かればこのゲームは7割方攻略しても同然だね。
Once you acquire the skill of note taking, you'll have a 70% chance to win this game.
ま、7割程度じゃおじさんには勝てないけどさ。
But even a 70% chance won't be enough to defeat me. I kind of knew I didn't stand a chance of winning this game, but I gradually started picking it up. Rena seemed to be getting her energy back as she played along. It wasn't the right decision to force her to play with us today. For some reason in my head, I'm imagining, like, you know, they're all saying, like, they're like, oh yeah, Rena's mood is improving, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then, like, somehow someone makes, like, a joke, like, it was Rena, I'm trying to get my joke out. It was Rena at the trash dump with fucking other Rena. I don't know. I had a joke. It wasn't formulating. I laughed too soon. In my head, it was the idea was funny. Oh god. Alright, here comes the teacher. While we were in the middle of the game, Chie-sensei came into the classroom.
楽しそうですね。
Mai, you look like you're having fun.
ところで竜宮さんはいますか？
Anyway, is Ryu-san here?
は？
How?
竜宮さんにお客様が来ています。
Uh-oh. You have a visitor. Everybody looked puzzled. Parents sometimes showed up at school for some reason, but Chie-sensei never called them visitors. It's rare to have a visitor at school.
なんだろう。
I wonder who it is.
ちょっと行ってくるね。
Well, I have to go.
みんなは部活続けててね。
You can continue without me. Rena left the classroom at a run.
どうする？
What should we do?
待ってるか？
Should we wait for her?
どれだけかかる用事かわからないからね。
Well, we don't know how long it's going to take.
レナもああ言ってたことだし、
Rena told us we could continue.
私たちは続けようか。
So let's do that.
ああ！
Yeah! Collective, yeah. Alright, who's it gonna be? Here we go. Oh, from Rena's perspective. Around the entrance, the glaring sun and the cool shade made for a clear contrast. Ah, I should have guessed. Less exciting. You know what would have been exciting? The ghost of other Rena. And Chie, teacher, seems to somehow just have the ability to communicate with ghosts. An old man who's holding his jacket on his arm was waiting for me. He looked like he was overheating, and his tie was limp.
竜宮さんですか。
Are you Ryu-san?
竜宮レイナさん。
Reina Ryuga-san? Ever since Rena called me Reina, fucking hell. Ever since Rena called me Reina, I've hated that name more than ever. Because of that, I didn't have a good first impression of this man.
そうですよ。
Yes, that's me.
どちら様ですか？
May I ask who you are?
私の車はエアコンが効いてますから、そっちでお話ししましょ
My car has air conditioning, so why don't we move this into there?
う。ここ暑くありません？
What do I always say? Don't get in the car. Don't get in a car with an old man. Especially Oishi. Aren't you hot out here? Don't be tempted by the AC. He ignored my question and started walking towards the car parked in front of the school gate. If he wanted to talk about something normal, he would have used the teacher's office. But he wanted to talk in his car instead. Couldn't help but feel suspicious. Chie-sensei let him see me, though. That means he wasn't a suspicious individual as far as she was concerned. Who was he?
取って食いやしません。
I don't bite, you know.
どうぞどうぞ。
Please, this way. He called out to me while opening the rear door. Is he a policeman? Did the police find out that I killed those two? I felt anxious all of a sudden. Was this what they called a voluntary interview? I didn't want to go into that car. But if I rejected his offer, it would only make me look suspicious. I prepared myself and got in. It was really cool. Excuse me, it was really cool inside the car. A car AC must cost a fortune. At least, my father's car doesn't have one. My car, AC, has, like, not been working for, like, the longest of time, years-wise. And, like, I've not pressed to, like, fix it because I don't have, like, a work commute that I have to worry about, thank God. But also, when I drive, like, I'm very much almost always roll down windows, like, mode. So, like, and I think I kind of adapted to that because my AC was just, like, broken. I think some people would be like, Austin, your AC's broken. How the hell do you manage in the hot, hot Texas heat? And I say barely. But mostly because I have windows rolled down. And I don't have to drive around that much. Thank God. If I had a regular, like, work commute, maybe I would probably be more interested in fixing it. I just don't know what it entails. I don't know. I have no idea. I know nothing about cars. And cars, honestly, I have a very strong hate, not even a love-hate relationship, just a strong hate relationship about anything about cars at this point in my life. You could tell me it would cost like $100 to fix AC or like $5,000. And I'd believe any amount in between that. I'd be like, yeah, sounds accurate. A car AC must cost a fortune. At least my father's car doesn't have one.
冷えすぎだったら言ってくださいよ。
Please let me know if it's too cold.
私ガンガンに冷やしちゃうたちですから。
I like keeping it that way.
で、私に何の用ですか？
So, what's this talk about? In retaliation, I ignored his question and got to the point like he did. He pulled a small notebook out of his breast pocket and flipped through it. He picked out a photo from it. The photo showed the face of a goofy-looking man.
この男性のことでご存知のことがあったら教えてください。
Please tell me if there's anything you know about this person. The man in the picture was expressionless and looked half asleep. Sometimes you can't even recognize your own family members in a photo where they don't have any expression. So, there's no way I could recognize a person who wasn't related to me. But anyway, that was a bit of a relief. This had nothing to do with Rena or her partner.
シャツにマジックで落書きがありましてね。
There were scribbles on his shirt.
リュウさんをはじめクラスメート何人かの署名入りでした。
And we found the signatures of students at the school, including yours, Ryugu-san.
これ、富武さん？
Is this Tomotake-san? I don't feel his usual carefree unreliableness from this picture at all. From this half-awake, emotionless face.
では、こちらの女性はわかりますか？
Low blow to him. She called him goofy looking. Oishi says, how about this woman then? I knew what he was going to show.
ミオさんです。
Her name is Mio-san.
高野ミオさん。
Mio Takano-san.
二人に最後に会ったのはいつですか？
When did you see them last?
綿流しの祭りのお開きになった直後くらいにあったと思います。
I think it was right after the bubmanXIV festival.
何か気になったこととかありませんか？
Didn't you notice anything strange?
何でも結構です。
Anything?
話してください。
Please, tell me.
富武さんたちに何かあったんですか？
Did something happen to them? Oh yeah, something
よ
happened
っ
to
し
him.
ゃ
Yeah!
ー取った
I got it!
実はよレナとミオンで二択だったんだよな
To tell you the truth, I wasn't sure if it was Rena or Mion.
じゃあ、博打だったんですの？
So, you gambled?
なんてリスクのあることを。
How risky.
それでも、勝ちは勝ちなのですよ。
It doesn't matter how he won. What matters is that he won.
お、レナだ。
Oh, Rena,
おかえり。
welcome back.
ずいぶん時間かかったね。
What took you so long? Mion noticed that Rena had returned. She looked exhausted. I have no idea what she talked about with the visitor, but it was obvious it wasn't something fun.
レナ、大丈夫？
Reina, are you okay? I'm trying to remember. I don't know who else. There wouldn't be anyone else, especially because we don't go from their perspective. So I was trying to remember, like last time Oishi brought someone into his car to question them with the pictures and bringing up the names scribbled on the shirt or whatever. That was Ketchy, right? So this is, again, further... I mean, unless it's a different time, but like I assume this is... Again, assuming maybe that Oishi has some... He's approaching this stretch of time differently because he has some omnipotent timeline shifting powers, or he's fully conscious of all the other different Oishis in every other different timeline, and he's trying to solve this case. I don't know what his powers or what's happening, but seemingly he's like, all right, well, didn't solve the case last time. I was questioning Ketchy. I'm gonna bring Rina into my car now. Make her uncomfortable in my very cold car. Rina, what?
何大丈夫って。
What's okay? What?
いや、顔色だよ。
I'm talking about you.
青いというか、白いというか。
You look pale.
本当に大丈夫？
Are you sure you're alright? Reina tried to convince us she was fine, but her face clouded over for a moment, and she decided to leave early. I shouldn't have forced her to join the game. I was regretting it a little. Reina probably forced herself to play with us, even though she wasn't feeling well at all. Reina put her stuff in her bag, apologized to us for leaving early, and left the classroom.
まあ仕方ありませんわね。
Well, she's gone now.
ではせめて私たちの白黒ははっきりさせようじゃございませんの。
I guess we have to keep playing until we have a loser.
そうだね。
That's right.
次は誰の番だっけ？
Whose turn is it?
Me?
Me?
よっしゃリカちゃん
Okay, Rika-chan.
来やがれ
Come on! Show me what you got, Rika. And if it's true, if we are to view both now what may be possibly Oishi being this timeline traveler, and also potentially Rika as well, in some weird way, like, are we gearing for some like weird Oishi versus Rika like final chapter 8 standoff battle? Like, I know that sounds ridiculous as the words come out of my mouth, but like, is that what we're doing? Also, is the text a different color? This is not as pink as it used to be. Is that a reason? It's like flesh colored now. It's like peach. First of all, I wasn't very close to Mio-san. I knew who she was, so I greeted her whenever we happened to pass by. But that was about it. I never really talked to her except for the one time. And that time was only recently. It was between the day of the Wadanagashi festival and the day I was caught in the act of burying the 2 corpses of Ketchi-kun and my other friends. Wait. Wait. What? I'm gonna start from the beginning here. First of all, I wasn't very close to Mio-san. I knew who she was, so I greeted her whenever we happened to pass by, but that was about it. I never really talked to her except for the one time, and that time was only recently. It was between the day of the Wadanagashi festival and the day I was caught in the act of burying the 2 corpses. Oh, wait. Good thing I reread that. Of course, I don't know why that listeners, probably chat, probably like, what are you freaking out about? I totally, like, I think I read it correctly, but I misinterpreted that last sentence. I somehow read it, even though I know we just experienced the friend group catching her, but for some reason my brain, I think my brain is really tired, but like, My brain interpreted it as she was burying the corpses of Ketchikun and my other friends. I was so confused. I was like, what the fuck? I was confused timeline-wise. I was confused plot-wise. But we avoided disaster. It's all good. Okay, we can continue. I had a phone call from the library that evening, and I was told that my father needed to return the book he borrowed. He was shopping at the home improvement store at the time, so I went to the library to return the book for him. While I was there, I thought about borrowing some books for myself, and I started walking around the library. I saw her there. That freak.
あら、レナちゃんじゃないかしら。
Oh, Rina-chan.
こんにちは。
Hello.
ミオさん、
Mio-san.
どうもこんにちは。
Hello to you too.
図書館で会うなんて珍しいですね。
I didn't expect to see you here.
そう？
Really?
私にとってみれば、あなたが図書館にいることの方が珍しいんだけどね。
I was going to say the same thing. I always spend time here, and I've never seen you. Also, if there is like this thing where there's like, you know, Oishi and Rika are some like weird like timeline travelers, for lack of a better term for them, you might as well throw Takano into it. She's just enough of a freak where she probably has something about her, right? We already know she's kind of weird. We already know she probably got away with murdering Tomatake, disguising someone else as her dead body. You know, that whole thing. And there feels like there could be more about Takano. Like, there's some deeper things about her. So we have, I'm under the impression we maybe have at least 3. We have 3 of these beings. One of them I love, Rika. One of them it's so-so about, Oishi. And one of them I hate with a burning passion, Takano. She smiled in the very attractive and charming way that only mature women can do. Her smile gave no indication that she knew her death was just a few days away. She said that she often met with Tomatake-san at the library. It seemed like she had some time to kill, so she told me she wanted to buy me a drink. Don't accept drinks from Tomatake. Or from Takano. Word of advice. I had nothing to do after that. I let her buy me a canned iced milk tea from the vending machine in the library, and we talked for a while. Once I came to think about it, it was a little ironic. She mostly talked about the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. She had no idea that she was going to be the victim of its 5th year.
連続開始事件ですか？
The series of mysterious deaths?
あら、聞いたことくらいあるでしょ？
You've heard about it at least once, haven't you?
4年前にはダムの現場監督。
4 years ago, the manager of the dam construction site was murdered.
3年前には北条夫妻。
3 years ago, the Hosho couple died.
2年前にはフルデ夫妻。
2 years ago, the Furude couple died.
そして去年は聡子ちゃんのおばが犠牲になったhinamizawa村連続開始事件よ。
And last year, it was Sadako-chan's aunt. A series of mysterious deaths have been going on for 4 years now.
それがあと何日かで5年目を迎えるじゃない？
And in a few days, it'll be the 5th.
一応私もそういう物騒な名前で呼ばれていることは知ってますけど、
I've heard about it.
でも5年目も起こると決まったわけじゃ。
But you don't know for sure that somebody will die this year.
起こるわよ。
I do.
絶対にね。
Someone will die in a few days for sure.
2度あることは3度あるってことわざがあるけど、4度あることは5度あるって方がもっと確率は高いとは思わない？
There's that old saying, everything that happens twice will happen a third time. So isn't it also true that what happens 4 times will happen a 5th? I don't think that's how it works. Mio-san was convinced that the 5th mysterious death was going to happen, but she didn't know she was going to be the 5th victim. That's ironic and also really creepy. But there was always something creepy about her. So maybe she knew that she was going to be killed in a few days, but still managed to make that mysterious smile. the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. Of course, I know about it. I've lived here for more than a year. Every year on a day of the Wadnagashi festival, one traitor to the village dies mysteriously. It's been that way since the dam conflict. Each case was solved individually, but mysterious incidents still happen every year. It makes me wonder if there's some kind of will to all this. The creepiness and incomprehensibility of it all gave rise to the name, the Curse of Oyashiro-sama, which fit perfectly. Despite this, I always thought the Curse of Oyashiro-sama was just a series of coincidences. My reason for that is because I strongly believe that Satoshi-kun was the one who murdered his aunt on the 4th year. I don't have any evidence, but I just know it. I know that Satoshi-kun was in a serious predicament last year, and that he had nowhere to turn. He had no one to help him, but he had to save Satoko-chan as soon as he could. Satoshi-kun thought it through and made the best choice he could to handle the situation, just like I did when I had my problem with Rina. The other Rina. Very ironic that at the start I was like, we'll never have to mention her name again, and now it's popped up like 2 or 3 times. Fuck. I spoke too soon. I hesitated to inform Mio-san that Satoshi-kun was the murderer on the 4th year, so I just listened to her for a while. Oh, I hesitated to inform. Okay. For a second I was like, I thought Rina was just spilling the murder tea. According to her theory, the series of mysterious deaths isn't just a set of coincidences, but is instead a series of interrelated murder cases. At that point, my theory was completely the opposite of hers, but I decided not to cut in.
ひなみざわのお社様信仰は知ってるわよね。
You know about the cult of Oyashiro-sama here in Hinamizawa, don't you? Takano-san started telling me that Hinamizawa was once called Onigafuchi. She also explained the story of how the villagers were in the old days, showing me the scrapbook she was so proud of. The villagers back then were called man-eating demons, but they were also admired as transcendents, enlightened people not bound by earthly desires.
つまりミオさんの説によるならば
So, according to your theory,
連続開始事件はお社様を崇拝する狂信的団体がひなみ沢に潜んでいて、お社様の力を世に示そうとしているということなんですか？
a group of cultists who worship Oyashiro-sama are living in Hinamizawa, and they're trying to show the power of their god by enacting a series of mysterious deaths, right?
狂信的というか原理主義的というかは紙一重だけどね。
I'm not sure if we should call them cultists or fundamentalists. The line between them is very vague.
明治以降村の名前がひなみ沢に変わって以来、鬼ヶ淵村が長く続けてきたさまざまな風習が途絶えている。
In the Meiji era, when the name of the village was changed to Hinamizawa, the customs and the traditions of Onigafuchi were brought to an end.
それをよみがえらせ、再び鬼ヶ淵村の名と威風を取り戻そうと思っている人たちがいるんじゃないかしら。
I think there are some people who want to revive those traditions and regain the name and awe of Onigafuchi. Is she like one of those people then? Because we've talked about how interested she is in the lore of this place, right? So is she just a freak who's like, we've talked about how she's like on the weird spectrum of like, you know, those crime murder podcast fans. Like she's like that, like ratcheted up to level 14. Like she's like that. And then does she do her own thing this year because she wants to keep the tradition alive? Is she really into, like, here where her line where she's like, I don't know if we should call them cultists or fundamentalists. Is she like, hey, without actually saying it, is she being like, I'm not part of a cult, I'm just, you know, I just want to bring it back to what we used to be, or what this place used to be, or, I mean, she's a freak on so many levels, but like, but then you gotta think, like, I mean, she would. I was gonna say, would someone really just do a murder just to keep a tradition thing alive? That is one of the weird questions to this whole... I mean, there's so many mysteries still about that we need to get answers to. But unfortunately, as much as I hate her, we do have to wonder, like, what was her driving motivation to do what she did? Assumingly, from what we've been shown, we think, obviously, her killing Tomatake, her staging her own death, her not dying, and then her escaping. Why did she do it? Why does she want to kill Tomatake? Did she just want to kill someone, and she thought Tomatake would be the easiest? Did Tomatake do something? Curious. Anyway, Mio-san's theory was more than a little crazy, but it was also fascinating. At first, her theory had sounded like she was just jumping to conclusions, but after she eagerly showed me the documents she'd been studying, I started to think that it wasn't actually too far from the truth. If her theory was true, it would mean that the accidental deaths of the Hojo couple in the second year, the suicide and the death by disease of the Fude couple in the third year, and the drug addict murderer in the fourth year were all cooked up. It means someone who has a lot of power and influence over the police was involved. When I pointed that out, Mio-san nodded in agreement, and she started talking about how strongly they were rooted in the village and how deeply they were involved with many public organizations. After she finished explaining all that, I finally noticed that Mio-san was suggesting that the three families, including the Sonozaki family, were the masterminds behind the murder incidents. In fact, the Sonozaki family really is very powerful. They hold influence not only over Hinamizawa and Okinomiya, but also over the entire Shishibone area. Might not be wrong to say that they even hold influence over the entire prefecture. If the Sonozaki family is behind all this, her theory would be more realistic. But that means I should be suspicious of Michan. No, I shouldn't. But, in fact, Michan was very cold and unkind to Satoshi-kun when he was going through a tough time. I know there was conflict between the Sonozaki family and the Hojo family during the Dam Wars, but still, she was very cold to Satoshi-kun. But Michan admitted that what she did was wrong, and I forgave her too. I didn't want to think about that again. I decided to change the subject because I knew it would make me feel uncomfortable if we kept talking about the Sonozaki family.
そもそもお社様信仰って一体何なんでしょうね。
First of all, what is the people's belief in Oyashiro-sama all about?
鬼と人が共存というのも面白い話です。
It's a little funny that demons and humans wanted to coexist.
普通の昔話だったら鬼が来たら退治してやっつけるという風なのに。
In folk tales, humans usually try to wipe out the demons.
そうね。
That's quite true.
そのあたりがお社様信仰の面白いところね。
That's why Oyashiro-sama is so interesting.
でもそもそも神の国から神が漂着してきて崇められるというのは決して珍しいことではないのよ。
However, there are actually many stories that say people in old days worshipped a god that had drifted to our world from the land of the gods.
漂着神崇拝って言ってね。
It's the worship of drifted gods, in other words.
世界中に海の向こうからあるいは川上から神が漂着してきてそれを人々が敬ったという類の神話が残されているわ。
There are a number of myths all over the world about people worshipping a god who came from beyond the sea or from up a river.
それは偉人漂着の話でしょうか。
The gods in those myths are actually people who came from different countries, right?
そういう捉え方も一般的ね。
That's the general theory, yes.
古代日本は大陸に比べると様々な文化が遅れていた。
Ancient Japanese culture was far behind that of other nations.
だから進んだ文化を持った異国人が漂着した結果、その知識を敬い神と祀ったというのはありえなくもない話よね。
When Japanese people in those days saw a foreigner from a developed country, they were so impressed by the knowledge the person had that they started worshipping them as a god. That's one theory.
そういえば日本に伝わる赤鬼や青鬼もナンパして漂着した異国人のことを指すのではないかという説がありましたね。
I've heard that Red Oni and Blue Oni were actually foreigners who drifted ashore in Japan because their boats got shipwrecked.
天狗のいわゆる真っ赤で鼻が異様に高い顔も欧米人を見慣れない古代の人々が作り上げたのかもしれないし。
The Japanese may have created Tengu out of foreigners too. They probably saw a foreigner who had a red skin with a very long nose.
あら、 レナちゃんもなかなか鋭い見方ができるわね。
Wow, you're pretty sharp, Rina-chan.
それには私も同感よ。
I agree with you.
大方の漂着神信仰の原点は私も異人漂着にあると思うわ。
I think most drifted god worship are based on encounters with foreigners.
でもそうだとすると、鬼ヶ淵村の鬼が現れたとする漂着神信仰にはちょっと不思議な点がある。
But if that's so, Onifuchi's drifted god worship would have a contradiction.
わかるかしら？
Do you know what it is?
わからないです。
No, I don't.
簡単よ。
It's easy.
鬼ヶ淵村には海がない。
Onigafuchi isn't adjacent to the sea.
あ、確かに。
Oh, of course.
異人漂着なら外の世界とつながる接点が欠かせないはずよ。
In order to have any connection to foreigners, the place in question must also have a connection to the outside world.
欧米なら異国に通じる川。
In Western countries, that connection would be rivers running between adjacent countries.
日本なら世界に接する海。
In Japan, that connection would be the ocean.
だから日本における漂着神崇拝もそのほとんどは沿岸部に集中するわね。
So most of the drifted god stories in Japan originate near the shores.
鬼ヶ淵村以外に漂着し、そこから旅をしてここまでやってきた可能性はありませんか？
Isn't there a possibility that the foreigner washed ashore somewhere else first and then traveled to Onigafuchi?
ところがお社様信仰の決定的なところは、
Well, the thing about the worship of Oishiro-sama is...
鬼が漂着した場所を鬼ヶ淵沼とはっきり特定している点なの。
It specifically pinpoints Onigafuchi Swamp as the place where demons first appeared.
鬼ヶ淵沼には何も流れ着かない。
The swamp isn't connected to any rivers.
そんなところになぜどこから漂着したのか。
So, how could a foreigner wash up there?
実はこの辺にお社様信仰の謎を探る面白さがあるのよ。
That's why the mystery of Oyashiro-sama is so interesting.
お社様の伝説はどの程度知ってるかしら？
How much do you know about the legend of Oyashiro-sama?
学校に置いてある絵本で読んだ程度です。
I just read a picture book about it in school. I feel like I know a lot about it, but I actually don't. I just have an extreme fear of the rule not to leave Hinamizawa. After all, my life went wrong after I left. I felt dizzy when I tried to think about it further, so I stopped. When everything went wrong in Ibaraki, I met Oyashiro-sama, and he told me to go back to Hinamizawa. No. I'll get dizzy. Don't try to remember. Don't try to remember. I can't remember. I got desperate because I felt responsible for the divorce. I just used Oyashiro-sama as an excuse for my mental instability, and I told my father I wanted to go back to Hinamizawa. Right? But wait. Oyashiro-sama did come to me. Oh no, the colors are too dazzling. I can only remember the vivid color of the pills and the dizziness.
それだけ知ってれば十分よ。
That's all you need to know.
鬼ヶ淵より鬼が湧き出し村人を襲った。
The demons came out of Onigafuchi Swamp and they attacked the villagers.
それを見かねたお社様が降臨して鬼たちを平服させたわ。
Oyashiro-sama saw it and came down to save the villagers from the demons by exiling them to hell.
鬼たちは地獄を追放され行き場がないことを嘆き、
The demons cried and the villagers felt bad for them.
それで村人たちは鬼たちを気の毒に思って村に住まわせてあげようと決めた。
They decided to let the demons live in the village with them.
そしてお社様は村人たちの心に感銘を受け、鬼たちに人の姿を与え村に共存させたという。
Oyashiro-sama was impressed by the kind hearts of the villagers, so he gave human form to the demons and let them coexist.
その血は次第に交わり村人たちに溶け込んでいった。
The blood of the demons blended with that of the villagers as they lived alongside each other.
そうです。そういう話だったと思います。
That's exactly what I read in the book. felt dizzy, like I was going to faint because I touched the one memory I didn't want to.
神話の多くは古代の何らかの事実を原型にしていると言われることが多いんだけど、
People say that most myths are based on an event of some sort that happened long ago.
レナちゃんはこの神話から何を読み取れるかしら？
What event do you think is the truth behind this myth? Because I was still feeling dizzy, all I could do was tilt my head quizzically. It seemed like Mio-san was expecting that response because she smiled, looking satisfied that she successfully made me confused. Like a freak. She took a scrapbook out of her paper bag.
これ、レナちゃんに貸してあげるわ。
I'll let you borrow this for a while.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
でも私、
But I...
いいのよ。暇な夜長にでも思い出したら読んでくれれば結構。
Don't worry. Just read it whenever you have some time to kill.
レナちゃんは鋭いところがあるみたいだから、それを読んだ上で今度じっくり議論を交わしたいわね。
I want to know what you think about the things written in the scrapbook.
私も肯定的であれ敵対的であれ、議論の相手がいなくて寂しいのよ。
I'd like to know, even if you disagree with me, because you really are very sharp.
二郎さん、こういうのにはさっぱり興味のない人だし。
Jiro-san isn't interested in things like this at all, so I appreciate your input. And I'll murder him for it. I had little choice but to take the scrapbook. Apparently, Mio-san came to the library often, so I figured I could return it to her whenever I came to return my books. However, the day I'd return the scrapbook to Mio-san never came.
どうしたの？
What's wrong?
さっきからうつろね。
You don't look good.
体調悪いの？
Are you feeling okay?
あ、ちょっと夏風邪気味ね。
Ah, I caught a summer cold.
まだ病み上がりなんです。
I'm still recovering from it. It wasn't the summer cold that was making me feel dizzy. I always get dizzy when I try to remember the time I met Oishiro-sama in Ibaraki. I mustered all my courage and asked her. My memory of those days in Ibaraki is blurry. I know I met Oishiro-sama. Nobody believed me and they told me that it was a hallucination. But I thought Mio-san would listen to me.
ミオさん、
Mio-san?
今度は私の話を聞いてもらってもいいですか？
Can I talk to you about something?
いいわよ。
Yes, of course.
聞いてもらったお返しに今度は私が聞くわ。
You listen to me, so it's my turn to listen to you.
いえ、お社様の話なんです。
Well, it's about Oishiro-sama.
笑われないかとても不安です。
You might laugh at me.
笑わないわよ。
I won't.
あなたも私の話を笑わなかったもの。
You didn't laugh at me either. Mio-san said in a very gentle and mature way, and that encouraged me. Even so, I still hesitated to talk. There was probably nobody but Mio-san with whom I could talk about something like this. I gathered my courage again and spoke.
私、お社様に会ったことがあるんです。
I have met Oishiro-sama.
本当に？
You have?
はい、
Yes.
私、小学校に上がる前まではひなみ沢に住んでいたんです。
I used to live in Hinamazawa until right before I went to elementary school.
それが母の仕事の関係で茨城に引っ越したんです。
But my mother got a job in Ibaraki, so we moved.
この意味はわかりますよね。
Well, you know what that means, right?
わかるわよ。
Yes, I do.
南沢を離れてはならないというお社様の禁忌に触れたということね。
You broke the rule of Oishiro-sama, which is to never leave Hinamazawa.
そうです。
That's right.
それでいろいろ悪いことが起こって母が離婚し家庭はぐちゃぐちゃになりました。
And then, many things happened. My mother divorced my father and my family was broken.
私も自暴自棄になって悪いことをしたりしました。
I got desperate and did some bad things.
辛いこともあったのね。
Must have been terrible.
それで？
Then what happened?
世の中の何もかもが嫌になって 自分以外の幸せな人たち全部が私を見下しているように感じた最後の頃。
I started hating everything in this world, and I started to feel like everybody who was happy was looking down on me.
不思議な存在が現れるようになったんです。
That's when a mysterious existence started to appear.
それが
You
お
mean,
社様。
you mean Oyashiro-sama?
初めて現れたのは内緒ですよ。
The first time it came to me was, please don't tell anybody about this.
全部嫌になって自分を壊してしまいたいと思って体に刃物を突きつけたことがあったんです。
It was when I started injuring myself by cutting my body with a knife.
その時首をカミソリで切りつけたら血に混じってブクブクと汚らしい何かが溢れ出したんです。
I cut my neck and something very dirty and gross came out with the blood from the wound.
それは
Sludge. It was,
バカにしないわよ。
I'm not going to laugh.
続けて。
Go on. The chill I felt at that time came back to me. This is definitely not something you should be sharing with Blonde Lady. Don't tell her your vulnerable moments. Don't tell her anything. The chill I felt at the time came back to me. I sealed that memory away so that I wouldn't have to remember ever again. But once I unsealed it, I started remembering things one after another. Yes, back then, there was something in the blood. Something crawling.
赤黒い無数のウジ虫だったんです。
It was countless. Dark red maggots.
それらは首から血がこぼれるのと一緒にわらわらと湧き出してきました。
They squirmed up and out of my neck with each drop of blood.
しかもそいつらは外へ溢れまいと傷口から再び中へ戻っていこうとわらわらうごめいていたんです。
But they wanted to stay in my body, so they crawled back in through the cut.
私そんな気持ち悪いのに体内に戻られたくなくって。
I didn't want those creepy
出ま
things.
した。首の傷を引っかいてはほじくり出そうとしました。
I didn't want those creepy things to get back inside my body, so I clawed at the cut on my neck to get them out.
でもそれ以上は痛くて血まみれになるばかりで。
But it hurt so much, and it only made my hands and neck bloody.
それで私は急に怖くなりました。
I got scared all of a sudden.
私の体の中には血管いっぱいにあの気持ち悪いウジ虫がぎっしり詰まっているんじゃないかって。
I was scared because I thought there were that many nasty maggots in my blood vessels. Now, I don't know if it was intentional, but clawing at her own neck, again, sounds very similar to the whole, what seems to have happened to Toмотake, where he was clawing at his own neck, probably due to some drug he was pumped of.
それで私は試しにカミソリでももの血管を開いてみました。
Maybe too similar to not be a coincidence, or to be a coincidence. So I cut a blood vessel on my thigh just to see how it looked. I thought I could see it better if it was my thigh.
そしたら溢れてきたんです。ドバッとわらわらっと。
Then they oozed out from there too. So many of them. I understand, Ryugu-san, so please calm down.
分かってないってば。
No, you don't understand.
そのウジ虫たちは血と一緒にドバッと溢れ出すけど、すぐに元の血管の中に戻ろうとする。
The maggots come out with my blood, but then they try to get back inside my veins.
それがとてもかゆいんです。
It really itches. Please bring a doctor. No, don't claw at it like that. Bring me a sedative. Hurry! Hold her down.
私の血管の中のウジ虫をやっつけて。
Please kill the maggots in my veins.
血を全部抜いてきれいにして。
Please take all the blood out of my body and flush my veins out.
私の血管にはウジ虫がいっぱい詰まってるの。
There's so many of them in there.
どうして信じないの？
Why don't you believe me?
見せてあげるから。
I'll show you.
見れば信じるでしょ。
You'll believe me if you see them, right?
注射は嫌。
I don't want to get any more shots. No. This is what happens when you have a conversation with
落ち着いて。
Takano. Bad news. Calm down. Okay? Miyo-san sat next to me and held my hands tightly. Her touch brought me back to reality.
それでどうしたの？
So, what happened?
そんな誰も私のことを信じてくれない時に
Nobody,
現れたんです。
nobody believed me, but then he showed up.
お社様が
Oishiro-sama came to me. The memory was very vague, and I saw flickering lights. It made it difficult for me to remember. I met Oyashiro-sama. That sentence is all I remembered. The memory of actually meeting Oyashiro-sama was unbelievably vague. After I got out of the hospital, I continued being treated at home. I still felt something moving in my veins, so I wanted to cut my body to make the blood ooze out so that I could make sure that there were no maggots in there. So visceral sounding. Usually I was sleeping like the dead because of the strong pills I was taking. But one day I forgot to take the pill, and my consciousness was very clear. I felt the maggots moving in my veins, and I felt the urge to look inside. I cut a vein on my wrist. I knew it. A lot of blood and many dusky red maggots came out from the wound. I wanted to wash them off before they crawled back inside me, so I put my wrist under running water in the bathroom sink and I tried to open the vein. Oh, I get a little woozy. Hopefully, if you're listening, you're not just being described fucking vein injuries and bloodletting and all that doesn't make you a little queasy. Water, blood, and maggots ran down into the drain. Just like squeezing out the pus from a pimple. Please, man. Just like squeezing out the pus from a pimple, I squeezed the vein to get rid of the dirty blood and the maggots. For fuck's sake. Oh, God. I kept doing it. My arm started to feel numb and I felt cold, but I kept doing it. Something tells me there wasn't actually maggots in her blood. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna think that there was not bugs crawling throughout her circulatory system. I thought I might die from losing too much blood, but I kept doing it. My body was filled with maggots. I had to squeeze all my blood out of me. And then, a very bright light shone upon me. It was a very bizarre sensation. I never experienced anything like it in my life. All of a sudden, the dark bathroom was filled with a bright light. It was very bright but gentle. It wasn't like the light from the merciless fluorescent bulb. It was very warm and gentle. That was Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama was looking at me with gentleness and sadness in his eyes. As he touched my wound, the maggots started melting and disappeared in front of my eyes. That wasn't all. All the maggots that were moving throughout all my veins disappeared too. Oyashiro-sama taught me. These maggots were the curse. People with the demon's blood can't live outside of Hinamizawa. It's the rule. Unfortunately, you've been cursed. It's very sad and I feel sorry for you. There's only one way to save you. That's what he said. What should I do? The answer was very simple. All I needed to do was to go back to Hinamizawa. I unconsciously knew that before I heard it from Oyashiro-sama. People who are born in Hinamizawa must never leave. But I broke Oyashiro-sama's rules, and I left Hinamizawa. That's why my family was broken, and I lost my mind. If I hadn't left Hinamizawa, nothing would have gone wrong. And so, I had to go back. Oyashiro-sama also told me this. He could make the maggots, the embodiment of the curse, disappear, but only temporarily because I lived far from Hinamizawa. After a while, the power of Oyashiro-sama would fade away, and the curse would start eating my body again. If that happened, the maggots would take over my body, and I would go insane and die. I must go back to Hinamizawa before his power to hold down the curse faded away. That's what Oyashiro-sama told me. He did. I heard him tell me that. I should have gone back to Hinamizawa earlier. That's why Oyashiro-sama came to me to put his curse on me. But he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to pay for my sin of leaving Hinamizawa. Dad, listen. Oyashiro-sama is going to help us. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. Hinamizawa is a place where we must live. If we don't, not only me, but you might be cursed too. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. That's the only place where we can live. We need to hurry. We need to hurry, or Oyashiro-sama's power will fade away, and my body will be eaten by the maggots. Oh no. Oyashiro-sama's following me. He's telling me to hurry. He follows me everywhere and keeps telling me to hurry. He keeps apologizing to me for putting his curse on me. He follows me everywhere and keeps apologizing. I'm telling you the truth. I am. Why can't anybody see it? Why can't they see the maggots or Oyashiro-sama? Everybody's trying to fool me. I know they can see them too. No, no, please stop. I don't want to get another shot. Ah! Are you okay? I was breathing hard, and Mio-san was holding my shoulders. I could feel that the terrible memory I'd been trying to forget was awakening. The doctors told me that the memory was just my delusion. They told me that since I blamed myself for the divorce, I unconsciously had a desire to blame someone else for it, and I unconsciously connected the desire to the folktale of Oyashiro-sama that I read when I was little. I got drug treatment, received counseling, and waited. I gradually got better, and that proved the things I saw were just hallucination. The doctors asked my father to consider moving to Hinamizawa if possible. Fortunately, he wanted to change his living environment to heal his pain from the divorce as well. So, we came back to Hinamizawa. After we came back to Hinamizawa, I felt it. I felt it in my bones that this was the place we should live. And I also felt Oyashiro-sama's blessing. I definitely felt it. I felt the curse of Oyashiro-sama starting to break. I was free. After I moved here, I went to the clinic in Gogura for a while. The doctor gave me the same poisonous looking pills and I kept taking them for a while. The terrible memory gradually became unclear. Whenever I tried to remember it, I could only remember the strong side effect of the pills, and it made me dizzy. That's how I regained my peace. And then, I changed my name, Rina. The reason was because my name reminded me of those bad memories. I didn't want to have anything icky in my life anymore. That's why I came up with the idea of taking icky things out. After I took the I of icky out of my name, Rina, there was only Ri and Na left. That's how Rina was born. I like that. Such a little kid thing to do and say and rationalize. When I was introduced to my classmates, I told them to call me Rina. Since then, that had been my name. I'm living my new life as Rina. I cut away all the sad things that happened when I was Rina. My father still calls me Rina, but I don't feel bad as long as it was just my father and my relatives. But then, Rina came into my life one day, and she called me Reina. Because she called me Reina, those colored lights started flickering again. I should stop. I should forget about it. The lights were still flickering.
すみません。
I'm sorry.
私、だいぶ取り乱してました。
Was I panicking that badly?
小声で何かつぶやいてたわね。
You were muttering to yourself.
落ち着いたならよかったわ。
I'm glad you calmed down. Judging by Mia-san's reaction, I wasn't panicking as badly as I thought I was. But I've probably had those panicked hallucinations several times. If I started screaming and yelling like I once did, they'd take me away to a hospital again for sure.
私は、あの異常の中で、確かにお社様に会ったんです。
I'm certain I met Oyashiro-sama.
もちろん、ウジ虫も。
I saw the maggots.
信じられませんよね。
It's hard to believe, right? Mia-san smiled, looking a little confused. I couldn't blame her. I didn't expect her to believe it. I'm sure it was just a strange memory I created for myself in my hallucinations. Can't believe I can't trust myself. That's the worst feeling of all.
レナちゃん、
Reina-chan?
まず一つ安心してほしいの。
First of all, you don't have to worry about anything.
はい。
Yes,
レナちゃんが怖がっているタタリ、
I'm talking about the curse you're afraid of.
つまり血の中にいたというウジ虫。
And the maggots that you saw in your blood.
それはお社様が言うには、ひなみ沢にいる限りは大丈夫なんでしょう？
According to what Oyashiro-sama said, you're free from them as long as you stay in Hinamizawa, right?
ええ、 そう言ってました。
Yes, that's what he said.
なら怯えることはないじゃない。
Then you don't have to be scared.
安心して。
You don't have to worry about anything.
あなたは今ひなみ沢にいる。
You're in Hinamizawa right now.
まあこの図書館は沖宮だけど、このくらいの距離ならお社様も許してくれるわね。
Well, this library is in Okinomiya, but it's very close to Hinamizawa. I'm sure it's okay with Oyashiro-sama.
血管の内側に何かがうごめいているなんて感じないでしょ？
You don't feel anything moving in your veins right now, do you?
それは
No.
はい。
No, I don't.
だから安心して。
So, there's nothing to worry about.
あなたは今お社様の戒律をちゃんと守ってる。
You're following Oyashiro-sama's rules.
だから何も恐れなくていいの。
There's nothing you should be scared of.
だってそうでしょ？
Is there?
ね。
Right?
はい。
No.
はい。
No. I didn't know until then that she was such a warm-hearted person. I met many doctors and talked to them about this, but they always ignored me. Didn't really listen. All they did was give me a shot of the drug I hated. On the other hand, Miya-san didn't deny my story or the existence of Oyashiro-sama. People in his village whispered behind her back that she's a little crazy. She's a little nutty. But she was actually a very kind person. I thought.
レナちゃん、
Rina-chan,
私は今の話全部信じるわ。
I believe everything you just told me.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you so much.
そう言ってくれた人は初めてかもです。
You're the first one to ever say that to me.
それは私も同じよ。
So are you.
私の話をバカにしないでちゃんと聞いてくれた人はあなたが初めて。
You're the first one who didn't laugh at me and listen to me so seriously.
私たちいい友達になれそうね。
I think we can be good friends. Miya-san smiled, touching my head with hers.
なら私の秘蔵のファイルとスクラップも貸してあげるわね。
Well, I'll let you borrow my secret files and my scrapbooks.
本当に
want them.
本当の門外不出。
These are top secret.
私以外の誰にも見せる気がなかったんだけど、レナちゃんには特別に読ませてあげてもいい気がするわ。
I didn't want to show these to anybody, but you're special. I think I can trust you.
あなたならバカにしないでちゃんと読んでくれそうな気がするし。
I know you'll take them seriously. I know it's not anything initially when you're like, oh, when a parent, when an adult that you're not related to speaks to you, a kid, saying like, oh, here's a secret thing, you better keep it secret, don't tell anyone else, you know, that's like supposed to raise red flags and warning signs and stuff. The alarms are supposed to be going off. But it's even worse that it's not even like something like that. It's like it's just her freaky like interest and hobby of this folktale stuff. Like part of me wants to just yell at Rina and be like, Rina, disengage, but like but also like I don't know. Obviously, it's a child. Doesn't know better. But it's just freaky. It's weird. And also, Takano should know better. Despite me knowing that she's, like, supposed to be a little freak. She's a little freak. I'm like, why? What? And it goes back to that whole question I keep asking. What does Takano get from spreading and planting these seeds and talking, as we've seen now, to the different kids? Or sometimes dragging the kids to places they shouldn't be. Like, what is she getting out of that? Is it just weird self-satisfaction? Or is there something else she's doing? It's eating me up inside not knowing what's the bigger thing is what, like, why? Why does she do this? What is her purpose in life? She took a few scrapbooks out of her paper bag and handed them to me.
ぜひ読んで感想を聞かせてね。
Let me know what you think after you read them.
あるいはひょっとするとレナちゃんにしかわからないことなのかもしれない。
There might be something in them that only you can understand. Mio-san was acting mysteriously. She smiled mischievously and put her index finger on her lips as a sign to keep it a secret.
あとこのスクラップ帳と私がそういう研究しているのは内緒よ。
Don't tell anybody about these scrapbooks or that I'm studying this, okay?
内緒ですか？
We're keeping this a secret?
はい、わかりました。
Okay, I got it.
だってこんな研究をしているのが連中に知られたら消されてしまうかもしれないものね。
If they find out that I've been studying this, they might get rid of me. She laughed after she said that. Oh god. They might erase her. That's what she said. And she went missing. She left me her scrapbooks. I don't know why I started to see scapegoats there. Scapegoat. But that's not all there is to it. It's the way Tomatake-san died. Oishi-san said he committed suicide because of a state of excitation caused by using some kind of drug. But I know what really happened. I didn't tell Oishi-san about it. I don't think he'd have believed me even if I told him. Without a doubt, Tomatake-san died trying to get rid of the maggots. It was nothing other than the curse of Oishiro-sama. To never leave Hinamizawa isn't the only rule of Oishiro-sama. There are more. He might have broken one of them without knowing it. Oishi-san told me. Tomatake-san was taking pictures with his camera flash on during the sacred ritual dance. Some people got mad at him for it. Did Oishiro-sama put his curse on Tomatake because he violated the sacred ritual dance? Might be for another reason. Like breaking into that storage shed. Anyway, he died from the curse of Oishiro-sama, without a doubt. Did that mean Oishiro-sama put his curse on Mio-san too? Investigating the gods is the same as getting close to the gods. He's disrespecting them. But Mio-san told me that they might get rid of her if they found out about her investigation. By they, she meant humans. Plus, according to her theory, the three families are in a conspiracy to revive the faith of Oishiro-sama. But I can tell by the way Tomatake-san died that it was the act of the curse. I'm certain about that because I experienced the curse myself. And at first glance, that seemed incompatible with the conspiracy theories about human beings. I remember that Oishi-san told me something about some kind of drug that can make a person commit suicide. So do the three families have a secret drug that can cause the curse of Oishiro-sama? That's impossible. Plus, I didn't get any shots of a suspicious drug like that. I had a normal life in Ibaraki. I wasn't involved with the Sonozaki family or the Kimiyoshi family. Oishi-san asked me a favor. He asked me to tell him secretly if I saw or heard anything suspicious. Could be about Mi-chan, Rika-chan, or anybody in the village. Mio-san believed my story about Oishiro-sama. Now she's gone. Tomatake-san died by doing the same thing I did. Oh, no. I don't want to get involved with the curse of Oishiro-sama. Is this a conspiracy of a group of fanatical cult members, or is it the curse of Oishiro-sama? Is everything just a set of coincidences? Or maybe it's a mixture of a conspiracy and a curse? I don't know. Is it the work of humans, the curse, or a coincidence? Oh no. Even the light of the sunset was making me feel dizzy. When did the sunlight in Namazawa get so mean? Mio-san told me to keep her investigation secret. I have her top secret scrapbooks. They might hold the truth about everything. When I realized that, I got scared all of a sudden. I might end up the same way as Mio-san, because I have her scrapbooks. If it's a conspiracy, I'll be erased. If it's the curse, I'll be cursed. I should burn the scrapbooks. That's the safest thing to do. But Mio-san believed my story. Mio-san listened to me without laughing. It would feel wrong to burn them without taking a look. If it's a conspiracy, I have to expose it. If it's a curse, I have to break it. I shouldn't run away. I should fight. That's right. I decided to fight to seize my happiness. I shouldn't give in to misfortunes. I have to fight. I'm going to get rid of all the things that are trying to ruin my peaceful life. I'm going to read her scrapbooks when I get home. I started walking faster. Fast, 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 fast. Must walk fast. Lunch takeout list. Icky things. Great. Great! Attention, Kuroda. Mental clinic. Hello. To get straight to the point, we can assume that this is an acute case of post-traumatic stress disorder. Patient is subject to tremendous stress because of her parents' sudden divorce and being forced to choose to live with either her mother or her father. Furthermore, patient firmly believes that she was responsible for her parents' divorce, which further drives her to self-mutilation. The patient's largest shock stems from a sense of betrayal of her own household, which she believed was an absolute safe haven. Henceforth, there is a high possibility that the patient will resort to psychological defense measures to protect her family. For example, she might feel high disdain for any person of the opposite sex who approaches her father. She might feel uncomfortable about having other people in her home. She may also display eccentric behavior in order to keep people away from it. As an example of the latter, there are reported cases of patients unconsciously bringing home garbage. She may also display eccentric behavior in order to keep people away from it. As an example of the latter, there are reported cases of patients consciously bringing home garbage. Okay. It's highly important that the patient remains in close communication with her father. By deepening the communication between the two of them, it'll strengthen their family bond and loosen up her anxiety. Since the patient only shows signs of an acute syndrome in this case, there's a very good chance that she'll recover within 3 months with her father's support and proper medication. However, it's common for a patient who seemed to have recovered to have a sudden reoccurrence, a flashback, even after 10 years. Her father is still fairly young, and there's still a chance that he could remarry. However, seeing an unfamiliar member of the opposite sex through remarriage could trigger a flashback in the patient, which may lead to avoidance behavior or hyper-awareness. Please explain this part thoroughly to the father in order for him to understand the recovery process. Should the father decide to remarry, it's recommended that he should hold off in telling the patient until she reaches the age where she's capable of living independently. Also, the cause of the patient's psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, delusional parasitosis, seems to be its own culture-bound syndrome. The patient blindly believes that leaving her home village will cause a curse, and that this curse was the cause of her parents' divorce. We believe this is a subconscious defense mechanism to reduce her mental trauma by shifting the blame from herself to her village's curse. According to the patient's statement, culture of her home village is extremely strict and exclusive. The patient believes that there's no way to be saved from the curse other than by going back to the village, as the curse will continue as long as she lives in her current environment. Through this, we see an inclination of schizophrenia and believe the chances are high that the patient will continue to alter their perceived reality. Schizophrenia, a case where patients' personalities are reduced, causing altered perceptions of reality and delusions. Her delusion about the maggots dwelling in her blood is a perfect example, and it's also the cause of her psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior. When a delusion involves psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, it's extremely dangerous. I highly recommend for the father to move back to the village if he's financially capable. Allowing her to live with relatives in the village might also work. If such a strong belief can induce symptoms such as self-mutilation, then there might be other cases similar to this one. Perhaps prior medical files that document similar culture-bound syndromes may be available at a large medical institution in her local area. It'll then be possible to provide better and more accurate mental care for the patient by obtaining these case files. This B5 size letter was with a bunch of memos. Following was on the back side of the letter. 1 Chukadon, 3 Shanghai-style Gomoku yakisoba, 1 large fried rice. There's the meal order. What was it called? Lunch takeout list. Okay, we can read a second section. For a second there, at the very start, I thought I was only going to get through one section with how tired I was, but I'm too engrossed. I'm too engrossed. So I'm going to throw up a very quick BRB. Maybe about 5 minutes at most. I'm going to restock my water and everything. And then we will dive into the next section. So, be right back.
「 じゃあ今日はレナの病み上がりも少し加味してテーブルゲームから種目をチョイスしよう」 ということで何者かに襲われたという設定です。 じゃあ今日はレナの病み上がりも少し加味してテーブルゲームから種目をチョイスしよう。 ということで何者かに襲われたという設定です。
be right back. I'm back. Was that 5 minutes? I always, whenever, especially during these Higurashi BRBs, I always forget to see what time it is when I step up, when I get up from the desk, you know? So then, like, a minute or two in, I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I look at a clock, and then I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. So then I just guesstimate. Let's continue. So what? Is Rena gonna read the scrapbook? Is she gonna spiral? Do we be spiraling? About homing ability and homesickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. Just like red shells and the missiles in Crash Team Racing. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, rest, and eat at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same as for humans. Sleeping, resting, and eating are the essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in a high level of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stressed. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Everybody also knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as a mental weakness, and we neglected to treat it for a long period of time. However, homesickness has a very long history. In Europe's Middle Ages, people believed that it wasn't a mental, but rather a physical disease. People also believed that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home in that era. They lived far away from their homes. There were no telephones at the time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that the young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. The Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from their reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent homesickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. But it wasn't really one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of the human homing instinct. Your brain desires to go back to your safe area, namely your home. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home, and it urges you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural signals to your body. As a result, your body gets weak, and that makes it more difficult for you to live in a strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order to achieve your desire to go home. So, homesickness is born from our homing instincts. And the stronger one's homing instinct is, the stronger their homesickness. The strength of the homing instinct varies from individual to individual and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instinct grows stronger. On the other hand, when the environment you live in is safer than your homing instinct becomes very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. The many customs demanding families to return home for major events varies with each region, so your birthplace's culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. I have a great fear, for some reason, that this chapter is all just gonna be straight reading. No pauses, no breaks. Paced myself. Amongst those... It's just gonna be 2 more hours of me just no pauses. Amongst those regions, the transcendents of Onigafuchi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instinct. The people of Onigafuchi forbade their fellows from ever leaving. Many believe this was the effect of the elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oishiro-sama puts his curse on you if you break his rule and abandon the village. The superstition can be interpreted as homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's homing instinct, then the exaggerated expression, curse, would signify the strength of that homesickness, and also their homing instinct. I can assume that they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of their powerful homing ability. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that the primitive people of Onigafuchi had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody left long enough to get homesick. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of Onigafuchi dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get a job. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendence of Onigafuchi realized how strong their homing ability was for the first time. The residents of Hinamazawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the curse of Oishiro-sama. It became rumored that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed. That he went crazy and died, and people who had left the village started coming back to either it or the nearby town. Their homesickness and their homing ability were very strong because of their culture. It's reasonable to think that these were cultivated by the unique religion in Hinamazawa, namely the cult of Oishiro-sama. From the moment they were born, they were taught the rules of Oishiro-sama. They must have felt guilty about leaving the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered their homesickness to be the curse of Oishiro-sama. I'm not sure if their homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oishiro-sama, or if they made the rules of Oishiro-sama because their homesickness got stronger. I don't know which came first. Oh, we're fine. Don't worry. I got tired of reading such small print and laid down on the floor on my back. The true identity of the curse of Oishiro-sama is homesickness. Mio-san believed my story and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected to find something interesting. But what it's saying is that the answer to all of it is homesickness, which many doctors told me so many times at counseling. I'm a little upset. The word homesickness can't explain the extraordinary experience I had. I saw Oishiro-sama come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red, nasty maggots come out of my blood vessels. The scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Mio-san was going to explain the cloud of maggots. Maybe she didn't have any explanation of that to begin with. Was it just a delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Mio-san let me borrow, looking for an explanation of the maggots I saw. Then, I found it. It had the exact title I was looking for. About Maggots and the Curse of Oishiro-sama. In the Meiji era, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamazawa, and they started discussing a rumor about a weird disease. They said that maggots started crawling out of the wounds of a person who left Hinamazawa, that the maggots ate the person's body from the inside. The Shinto priest of the Furude Shrine at the time explained that the weird disease was a sign of the curse of Oishiro-sama. According to tradition, the Shinto priest can't read priest for some reason. The Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll. He told them that the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. This is what the scroll said. The world where the demons came from must be interpreted as a land of death, and the demons in that land of death had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. The villagers who are of the demon's blood had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamazawa under the protection of Oishiro-sama. But once they left Hinamazawa, abandoning that protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in the blood of the demons would start to awaken, and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while, and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. This is interesting, as it's similar to the way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war started, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but they remained accustomed to send talismans to families that lived away from Hinamazawa. The talismans had the word maggot on them. But the most interesting part about all this is that the residents of Hinamazawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumors began. I thought that their unconscious worship made those people think of homesickness as a curse. So this case of the previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I had done so far. It's natural to think that the group of people who were on the way back to the village were lost in a mass delusion because they strongly believed in the curse, that the Shinto priest took advantage of this state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was merely coincidence that this mass delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Ojishiro-sama. I wish Ojishiro-sama would put his curse on someone I could study. I'd love to see those maggots coming out of someone. A totally normal thing to write and think. I felt as if Mio-san was here and making that request of me. I remember. When she gave me the scrapbooks, she said that I might be the only one who could understand them. I felt good just for a moment, because I found out that the maggots weren't a delusion. But at the same time, it destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion. They were there. All of a sudden, my wrists, elbows, inner thighs, and neck started itching. I felt the urge to cut open a blood vessel, but I quietly held it down. I remember that Mio-san looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. She must have thought it was creepy, but so did I. While I was crying because nobody believed me, part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe that it was a delusion, but now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon's blood will awaken when you lose the protection of Ojishiro-sama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection of Ojishiro-sama, but all the villagers still have the maggots in them without knowing it. People with the demon's blood are people who have the creepy maggots in their bodies. I tried not to jump to conclusions and flip the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to maggots. About parasites in control of the host. The maggot disease made me think about something. Is it possible to say that the extremely strong homesickness of Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite? I'm not trying to connect the maggots I saw with parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that their culture, their religion, might be associated with an infectious disease. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within the host's body for as long as it can. Best way to do that is to coexist with the host without the host knowing it. But some parasites try to control their host and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control their host, in order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. A typical example is the Dicrocoelium dendriticum. Dicrocoelium dendriticum. Ligmaballs. It uses snails or ants as intermediate hosts and forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation so that it's easier for a superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as intermediate hosts, with the superior host being cats. This parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so that the parasite can live within a cat instead. I'm familiar with those ones. There are parasites that choose hosts at random. The rabies virus is commonly known for that. It lives and breeds in the brain of a host and moves into the host's saliva through the salivary glands. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bite things randomly, so that it in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. That's what rabies does. Many parasites have a similar ability to control hosts to their benefit. Examples I used above are about parasites that move into other hosts to prosper. But I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its host in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness of the Onikavuchi residents. Let's say there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa, and it lives within all the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in, so it gives the host a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the host to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. Parasites need hosts in which to live. It's convenient for them if their hosts build a community in the environment where it feels comfortable. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The transcendents of Onigafuchi knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that, as hosts of the parasites, they couldn't live outside the village. That's why they created culture and rules that prohibited contact with the outside world. It also explains why people acted so abnormal during the dam conflict. So, the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Oyashiro-sama can be interpreted as mass spread of the parasite. The story about the demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor for the behavior of the infected villagers who are controlled by the parasite. This theory is too crazy. I should have just laughed about it. But I felt bad for Mio-san, so I decided not to. Hinamizawa was controlled by a parasite? You could use that theory to explain how the maggots came out of me. Yeah, I felt a little bit dizzy. I was so confused, and a part of me thought it was ridiculous. Another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Mio-san was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, contents of these scrapbooks must be something that they can't ignore. They try to get all of her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill running through my spine. I have to keep it a secret that I have these scrapbooks, and I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Mio-san told me that the three families are behind the series of the mysterious deaths, and that they're trying to resurrect the cult of Oyashiro-sama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment of Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for it is a completely closed village, just like the primitive Onigafuchi. It must be very comfortable for the parasite if no hosts go outside the village. They don't even like that the villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasite would try to goad the host into resurrecting the cult of Oyashiro-sama. I remember there was an article in the scrapbook saying that the demon's blood runs thickest in the three families. That would mean that they have a larger amount of the parasite in them than the other villagers, and that they're under its control. The three families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the Onigafuchi era. Reviving the Wadanagashi festival after the dam conflict can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that had started to fade away in the Meiji era. The three families, especially the Sonozaki family, have a great influence over the region and the public organizations. What's going on here? I thought this to be a poorly written theory, but the pieces fit together one after another. I've never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swirling due to this absurd theory. Part of me thought this was ridiculous, and another part of me thought I might be about to expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look into the center of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into the whirlpool and drown. I'll have to devote myself to reading more seriously. There must be some truth to this. It caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. I might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behavior. Right then, I heard a knock on the door all of a sudden, scaring me. I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion.
Reina, 電話が来てるぞ。
Finally. Reina, you have a phone call.
電話
A phone call?
こんな時間に
This late?
誰だろう
Who is it?
本屋さんからだぞ。
It's from a bookstore.
本の取り寄せとか頼んだのか？
Did you order some books?
沖宮書房の大石さんって人からだ。
They said they were Oishi-san from the Yokonomiya bookstore. Uh-oh. Bum bum. That music. I opened the windows, but all they let in was heat and the cries of the cicadas.
味いな。
It's too hot.
味ね。
It really is. It was break time between classes, but we couldn't really get any rest. Mio and I leaned on our desks, exhausted by the heat. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. They were running around the classroom, despite the temperature.
やっぱりさ、都会の学校だと教室にもクーラーとか入ってるわけ？
Do schools in the cities have air conditioning in their classrooms?
そんなことねえぞ。
No, they don't.
あるのはせいぜい職員室ぐらいだな。
Only the teacher's office gets to have air conditioning.
うわあ、それは羨ましいね。
Wow, that's better than nothing.
生徒みんなで職員室を襲って占拠とかしないの？
If I were a student at a school like that, I'd attack the teachers and take over their office.
その辺の発想が実に妙臭い。
You'd be the first student to ever do that.
ああ、
I didn't even have the energy to laugh. Mion and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Rina's. Rina didn't come to school today. She called and told Chie-sensei she couldn't come because she's sick.
レナのやつ最近元気ないよな。
Rina seems to be feeling down these days.
だね。
Yeah,
暑さにやられたのかもね。
she probably got tired from the heat.
なあ、本気で暑さでやられたと思ってるのか？
Do you really think that's the reason?
そう思ってるけど。
Yeah, why?
例の一件がさ、
I think it's
やっ
the
ぱりじわじわと来てるんじゃないのか？
I think it's the incident.
かもね。
Maybe.
それに暑さも加わって夏バテでも起こしたんじゃないかな。
It's probably about that and the summer heat. I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder, dismember the bodies, and get caught by her friends. We took each other's hands at that place, and we united. All of us believed that we had closed the case there and had regained our peace. But was that as easy for Rina as it was for us? She must have not quite recovered yet.
おじさんはみんなで楽しく遊んでればそのうち元気になると思ってたんだけどね。
This old man thought she'd get over it if she played along with us.
そこまで心の傷が浅くなかったってことかな。
But I guess her pain ran deeper than I thought.
こういう時さ、
What should we do
どうしたらレナを元気づけられるかな？
to cheer her up?
多分ほっとくのが一番じゃないかな。
It's best just to leave her alone, I think.
おいおい、そんなのでいいのかよ。
Hey, are you sure about that?
俺たち仲間だろ？
We're her friends, you know?
ほら、ホームシックってあるじゃない？
Well, it's like homesickness, you know?
あれもね、ちょっと寂しいからって言って実家に電話なんかかけちゃうと一気に発症しちゃうらしいよ。
You get lonely and you want to call home just to hear your mom's voice, but it actually makes your homesickness worse.
寂しい時はぐっと耐えて、例えばスポーツにでも打ち込んで気分転換を図るのが一番なんだってさ。
When you're feeling lonely, best thing to do is devote yourself to sports or something like that for a change.
気分転換させてやりたくても、あいつ最近部活に加わらないし。
I want her to do club activities with us, but she doesn't want to.
レナはどうか知らないけどさ、
I don't know about her,
人には甘えたい欲ってのがあるんだよ。
but people usually have a desire to depend on somebody.
そばに支えてくれる人や同情してくれる人がいると甘えたくなる欲。
You want to depend on somebody who supports you and sympathizes with you.
慰めてくれる人が現れるとさ、際限なく甘えちゃうことってない？
Haven't you ever experienced that feeling? When you can't stop depending on somebody when they try to cheer you up?
どうだろうな。
Well, I don't know.
際限なく甘えるってことは相手の同情をより深く得ようとするってこと。
Completely depending on someone means trying to earn even deeper sympathy from them.
そうするとケイちゃんは慰めてるつもりなのに相手はどんどん落ち込んでいっちゃうことがあるんだよね。
At that point, even though you're trying to comfort them, they just slip further and further into depression.
慰められて甘えられる。これに味を占めると不幸に酔うのが癖になる。
But finding initial success through relying on someone and receiving comfort, they grow addicted to indulging in misfortune.
レナもその辺分かってるからわざと一人になろうとしてるんじゃない？
I think Rina knows that too. That's why she wants to be alone right now.
慰めや甘えが目的だったら私たちのそばにいて涙を流せば済むわけだし。
If she wanted to depend on us or get comfort from us, all she'd have to do is to stay with us and cry all the time.
じゃあ落ち込んでるレナをどう励ませばいいんだよ。
So, how can we cheer her up?
女の心情としては辛さを励ましてくれるより忘れさせてくれる方が嬉しいね。
I think she'd appreciate it more if you tried to help her forget her pain than if you tried to cheer her up.
慰めるな、励ますな。
Don't comfort her and don't cheer her up?
なんだよ、お手上げじゃないかよ。
There's nothing I can do, is there?
慰めるな励ますなは心理カウンセラーの鉄則だって知ってる？
That's a golden rule for psychologists. Did you know?
結局心の傷ってのは自分で治すようにできてる。
Mental trauma can only be healed by the person who has it.
周りの人が治したとしてもそれは本当の完治じゃない。
If someone else helps a person out of their mental trauma, even if they succeeded, that person wouldn't be completely healed.
だからレナが自分で元気になるのを私たちは見守るしかないんだよ、きっと。
So, all we can do now is wait until Rena heals on her own.
理屈じゃ理解できるが、なんだか薄情な気がして好きになれねえな。
I understand the idea, but I just don't like how cold it sounds. I clasped my hands behind the back of my head, looking at the ceiling. Mion laughed.
それだけレナのことを心配してくれるケイちゃんが身近にいるならレナは大丈夫だよ。
Rena will be fine as long as she has someone like you to worry about her.
立ち直れるよ。
I'm sure she can pull herself together.
近くにいるだけでか？
So, all I need to do is to be close to her?
うさんくさいな。
I don't know about that.
圭一にだってできることがありますですよ。
There's something you can do, Kechi. Rika-chan spoke up. I wonder how long she'd been listening to our conversations.
俺にもできることがあるのか？
What is it?
レナが話したいと思った時や打ち明けたいと思った時に静かに聞いてあげることなのです。
You can listen to her when she wants to talk to somebody.
聞くだけでいいのか？
Is that all?
励まさなくていいのかよ。
I just listen and I don't need to make her feel better?
ケイちゃん、打ち明けるだけで心が軽くなるもんだよ。
Kei-chan, people feel better just by talking to somebody.
静かに耳を傾けるのが何よりも嬉しい時ってある。
Sometimes all they need is someone who does nothing but listen quietly.
ミーの言う通りなのですよ。
Just like me said.
レナが話したいと思った時いつでも話しかけられる場所にいてあげるのもきっと仲間として大切なことなのだと思いますです。
I think it's important for us, as her friends, to be there for her whenever she wants to talk to somebody. Mion and Rika-chan were absolutely right. I was going to pat Rena on her shoulder and tell her to cheer up when I saw her next, but now I know that would have been one-sided on my part. Rena doesn't want to feel down herself. She wants to cheer up, if at all possible. If I cheered her up irresponsibly, she'd be very disappointed because she'd think that I didn't understand her pain.
そうだな。
You're right.
俺ちょっと人の心ってやつを理解しようとしてなかったな。
I guess I wasn't even trying to understand how she felt.
レナを励ましたいのは俺の欲求であってレナの求めることじゃない。
I wanted to cheer her up, but I now know that's just what I want to do, not what she wants me to do.
ありがとな、二人とも。
Thanks, you too.
俺ひょっとすると今日まで何か勘違いをしてたかもしれないぜ。
I think I finally understand. On that day, I thought I cheered her up, but I started to doubt if I'd reached her heart. I might have just been dragging her someplace where I wanted her to go. I wasn't on her side in the real sense of the term. Ah. All of a sudden, Rika-chan became big, and also patted my head.
圭一は一番のレナの味方ですよ。
Don't worry.
それは疑わなくて大丈夫なのです。
You all know that you're on her side.
え
What? What?
俺また考え事を口に出しちまってたのか？
Did I say something out loud again?
レナの心には届いてるよ。
It did reach your heart.
ケイちゃんはあの日とても強い力をレナに与えたんだからさ。
Kei-chan, you really did give her great strength on that day.
いやー、でもさ、よくよく思い出すとすっごい恥ずかしいこと言ってたよね。
Well, now that I think about it, what you said on that day was more than a little theatrical. We heard footsteps from the hallway and everybody started to head back to their desks.
お待たせしました。
Take your seats, everyone.
それでは委員長、号令。
President, if you would.
起立。
All rise. We didn't have a club meeting that day because Rena wasn't around. That worked out for me because I had an errand to run. It wasn't a big errand. My mom wanted me to use her point card to get some detergent. I didn't see the point of going all the way to the store just to get detergent, but Mama told me to go because she's busy helping my dad with his work. Yeah, that's what she was doing. I started walking towards the shopping center. I noticed someone was watching me, hiding behind a distant tree. I wonder who would do such a mischievous thing. I stared at them to find who it was, at which point they emerged.
Oh?
Oh?
レナじゃねえか。
Reina. Are you feeling better now? I was about to say that, but I swallowed the words. Somehow, Reina looked very serious. Uh-oh.
どうしたんだ?
What's going on? Shh. Reina put her index finger to her lips, told me to be quiet, looked around carefully, and beckoned for me to come over. I had no idea what was going on, but I followed her instructions, shut my mouth, and ran to her. Reina gestured for me to squat down to hide in the shadow of the bush. I didn't know why I had to do that, but I could ask her the question later. I just followed her orders for now. Reina looked like she was making sure no one was following her. If it wasn't Mion, she'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke. If it was Mion, I mean. She'd do something like this just to fool me as a joke, but I know Reina doesn't do things like this for fun. I had no idea what kind of situation I got myself into, but I could feel how tense it was, and I made myself as small as I could. Good.
もういいよ。
It's okay now.
ごめんね。
I'm sorry. The tone of her voice made me relax a little.
どうしたってんだよ、一体。
What's going on?
多分私、
I think
誰かに最近後をつけられているの。
someone has been following me.
なんだって。
What? Who would follow her? When I thought about it, I realized how stupid the question
ま
was.
さか、警察かよ。
Is it the police? Rina Mamiya, and Tepe Hojo. Two people disappeared. Even though they were awful human beings, the police had to investigate if they found out that they'd gone missing. It probably wouldn't be difficult to find out that Rina had often been to Rina's house. Rina. But it should be okay. As long as they didn't find those bags, it should be okay.
警察なのか、警察じゃないのかわからないけれど、
I don't know if it's the police or not.
綿流しの夜以降、誰かにずっと見られている気がするの。
But I feel like someone has been watching me since the night of Wadanagashi.
どういうことだよ。
What do you mean? Once I asked that question, Rina stared directly at me with a blank expression. Her eyes looked as though they were evaluating me. She stared at me as if she was assessing whether I was worth talking to about something very important. Rina squeezed her own wrist tightly, then started talking in a whisper.
話してもいいけど、誰にも内緒にできる。
I can tell you what's going on, but can you keep it a secret?
あ、もちろんだぜ。
Yeah, of course I can.
レナがそうしろってんなら、誰にも喋らない。
If you want me to keep it a secret, I won't tell anybody. Okay,
圭一くんなら信用できるよ。
I trust you. She smiled and looked around one more time.
連中はひょっとすると、ミオさんのスクラップ帳を探しているのかもしれないの。
They might be looking for Mio-san's scrapbooks.
ミオさん
Mio-san?
で、ああ、看護師の高野さんのことか。
Oh, the nurse, Takano-san.
あと、スクラップ帳って何のことだ？
What about her scrapbooks?
秘密の捜査になっているって言ってたから、多分圭一くんは知らないよね。
The police are keeping the investigation under wraps, so I'm sure you don't know.
高野美代さん、殺されたんだって。
Mio Takano-san was murdered.
え？
What? What?
いつ？
When? She told me to be quiet again. I lowered my voice and let her continue.
綿流しの夜、私たちは美代さんと、あと富武さんに会ったよね。
On the night of Wadanagashi, we met Mio-san and Toмотake-san, didn't we?
あの直後に二人が襲われたんだって。
They were attacked right after that.
富武さんはお社様のたたりにあって喉をかきむしって死んだ。
Toмотake-san was cursed by Oishiro-sama. He clawed out his throat and died.
美代さんは 岐阜の山中で焼き殺されていたと言ってたの。
Mio-san was burned to death in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture.
それ本当かよ。
Is that true?
そんなの誰も知らないぞ。
I mean, nobody told me about that. I know.
それは警察が伏せて捜査をしてるからなの。
That's because the police haven't disclosed their investigation.
ひなみ沢村連続開始事件は今年で5年目になっちゃうでしょ。
These cases make the fifth of the series of mysterious deaths.
だから変に騒がれたくないんで事件を公にしていないんだって。
So the police have decided not to go public yet.
なるほど。
I see.
秘密捜査なのは分かったが、レナはそんな話どこで聞いたんだよ。
I understand why the police are keeping quiet about it, but then, where did you hear this?
内緒だよ。
Can you keep it a secret?
私実は大石っていう沖宮署の刑事さんと連絡を取り合っているの。
I've been in contact with Oishi-san. He's a detective from the Okinomiya Police Department.
その人に教えてもらった。
He told me about the case.
どうして大石って人がレナに。
Why did he tell you?
さあちょっとそこはわからない。
I don't know.
彼が言うには私なら信用できそうだからって言うんだけどね。
He said he told me because he could trust me. I was dumbfounded to hear all this, but I knew she wasn't lying. If it was Mion, she'd be sticking her tongue out by now, but Rina wouldn't make a joke out of something like this.
ミオさんが殺された理由は多分彼女の研究のせいだと思うの。
I think the reason why Mio-san was murdered is because of her research.
ミオさんがこの村の歴史とか民族学とかそういうのを熱心に調べてたってのは知っている？
Do you know she was doing ethnological research by studying the history of this village?
なんとなくは聞いたことある。
I've heard something along those lines. Takano-san was interested in the occult and mysterious things. I remember Mion once told me that she was studying the village's legends of man-eating demons out of curiosity.
彼女は多分その研究の中でこの村に関するある重要な秘密を知ってしまったの。
I think she discovered a very important secret about this village through her studies.
あるいは彼女はそんなにも確信には踏み入ってなかったのかもしれないけど、そうは思われなかったんだろうね。
Or maybe she wasn't even close to the truth, but they thought she was.
ちょっと待て。
Wait a second.
この村の秘密ってなんだよ。
What's the secret of this village you're talking about?
私はミオさんのスクラップ帳をほんの数冊借りて読んだだけ。
I just read a few of her scrapbooks.
でも彼女が特に大事にしていた秘蔵の数冊だからかなり重要なことが記してあったと思う。
But those were the ones that she was handling with extra caution, so I think they're pretty important things written in them.
だから多分ミオさんが至ろうとしていたことに8割方ぐらいは近づいていると思うの。
I think I know about 80% of what Mio-san was trying to uncover.
でもあまりに突拍子もなくて私にはまだ信じられない。
But if it's true, it's almost too crazy to believe.
ミオさんの想像が正しいかどうか検証してる段階なの。
Right now, I'm trying to find out whether Mio-san's theory is right or not.
で、何なんだ一体。
So, what is it?
秘密を知ると殺されるっていうこの村の秘密ってのは。
What is the secret of this village? What could be so important that you might get killed just by knowing about it? I gasped the moment those words left my mouth. If Reina told me, I might get killed too.
圭一君にはまだ全部話したくない。
I don't want to tell you yet,
確証が持てたら話すね。
but I promise I will once I verify things.
だってそれくらいに途方もないとんでもない話だから。
Because it's really crazy. Too crazy to be true.
確証ってなんだよ。
What do you mean you have to verify things?
例えば予備知識のない内訳については私自らがその存在を検証できているけど、他にもたくさん未検証のことがあるの。
For example, I myself serve as verification that the maggot disease can occur without any background knowledge, but there are a lot of things I still need to verify.
それらを埋めていかないと私ですらにわかには信じられない。
They sound too crazy to be true. I can hardly believe them if I don't verify that they are. Maggots? I was totally lost now, and I wanted to ask her some questions, but I decided not to cut in. It was so hot outside. It's burning. But Rena held her arms as if she was cold.
レナ、
Rena,
俺はいつだってお前の味方なんだからな。
I'm always on your side.
俺だけは信用してくれて構わない。
You can trust me.
ありがとう。
Thank you.
その一言がすごい嬉しい。
I really appreciate it. From her expression alone, I could tell that she really meant it. I could also tell that she was involved in something very big, and that she felt lonely because she couldn't tell anybody else about it. I had to be on her side while she was going through a difficult time.
私とね、今日ここで出会ったことは内緒にした方がいいと思うの。
You shouldn't tell anybody that you met me here today.
私と接触があったことが知られたら、ケイチ君にも危害が及ぶかもしれないから。
They might try to hurt you if they found out.
わかった。
Okay.
俺に何か協力できることはないのかよ。
Isn't there anything I can do to help?
今はない。
No. Not right now.
でも協力をお願いできることが分かっただけで、今の私には心強いよ。
But it's very reassuring that I can ask you for help when I need it.
最後には頼らせて。ね。
I'll depend on you someday.
おう、
Yeah.
任せとけ。
Anytime.
し、
Shh.
車が来る。
A car's coming. Rena pushed my head into the bush. I went along with it and crouched down even lower into the bushes. We stayed quiet for a while. Could hear a car come closer, and after a while, a white van passed by. I was surprised at her hearing. She heard the car coming when it was still far off in the distance.
今の車、ナンバー見えた？
Did you see its license plate number?
え？
What?
いや、ごめん。
No, I'm sorry.
見えなかった。
I didn't.
私もちょっと見えなかったけど、多分さっきと同じナンバーの車だと思うの。
I couldn't either, but I think it's the same car I saw earlier.
そのレナを尾行しているとかいう連中か？
Are they the ones following you?
多分
I think so.
普段車なんか通らない道で、今日は何度も追い上げられるの。
It passed by me many times today on the street where nobody usually drives.
その度に私は隠れてやり過ごしているからいいんだけど、どうもおかしい。
I hit every time, but it's strange.
そいつらなのか？
Are they the ones?
高野さんたちを殺してレナが持ってるスクラップ帳を狙っているという連中は？
Are they the ones who killed Takano-san and Tomitake-san? Are they looking for the scrapbooks you have?
多分
Most likely, yes. I don't blame her for not being able to believe what's going on, because this is really crazy. Takano-san uncovered something really significant through her studies. People who want that information hidden found out about it, and they killed her right on the night. I'm going to try rereading that sentence. The people who want that information hidden found out about it, and they killed her on the night of Wadnagashi, copying the curse of Oishiro-sama. They're looking for the scrapbooks, the fruits of her research, and Rina has them. That's why they're trying to kill Rina?
じゃあレナの家が危ないってことはないのか？
What about your house?
大丈夫。
It's safe there.
スクラップ帳はゴミ山の私の隠れ家に隠してある。
I hid the scrapbooks in my secret hideout at the garbage dump.
お父さんが不安だけど、何も知らないからこそ何も危害が及ばないかもしれない。
I'm worried about my father, but he'll be fine because he really doesn't know anything.
圭一君が言わなくても顔に書いてあるよ。
It's written on your face, Ketchi-kun.
突拍子もない話でとても信じられないでしょ。
It says, I can't believe it because it sounds too crazy to be true. Am I right? I wanted to deny it, but I felt bad to lie. I remained silent in the affirmative.
それが当然の反応。
Well, that's a normal reaction.
私だってミオさんのスクラップ帳を読み始めた最初はなんだこりゃって思って全然信じられなかったもの。
I couldn't believe any of it when I read the first scrapbook.
すべてに目を通してようやく何かの筋が見えてきたんだもん。
I finally started seeing the connections after reading all of them.
すまん。
I'm sorry.
もちろんレナの味方になりたいのは本心だ。
I do want to help you.
でも話が全然見えないんでどう助けてやればいいかわかんないんだ。
But I just don't know how if I don't see the whole picture of what's going on.
話せば圭一君の身にも危険が降りかかるよ。
If I tell you, it might put you in danger.
レナにはすでに降りかかってるんだろ。
You're already in danger, right?
ならおあいこだぜ。気にするな。
I don't mind. Don't worry about me.
わかった。
Okay,
話す。
I'll tell you then.
多分ミオさんたちを殺したのはひなみ沢御三家。
It's probably the three families who killed Mio-san and Tomatake-san.
もっとはっきり言ってしまえばみーちゃんの家である園崎本家。
To be more specific, it's the Sonozaki family. Mi-chan's family.
どうして？
Why?
圭一君も過去の連続開始事件は知ってるよね。
You know about the series of mysterious deaths, right?
ああ、
Of course.
ダム戦争の時の村の旧敵ばかりが毎年犠牲になっていくっていうあれだろ。
The traders of the dam conflict die every year, right?
この連続開始事件はダム戦争の生産のようなものなの。
The series of mysterious deaths is like a resolution of the dam conflict.
村の裏切り者を片付けることによって本当の意味でダム戦争を終わらせようとする。
They're trying to end the dam conflict in the true sense of the term by erasing people who betrayed the village.
確かにそう見えないことはないよな。
It does look like that in a way.
誰もがはっきりと口にはしないが、うすうすと園崎家の仕業だと疑ってるみたいな話は聞いたことあるぜ。
Nobody really says it out loud, but everybody's suspicious that the Sonozaki family's behind it. That's what I've heard.
でも裏切り者を制裁するなら別に綿流しの場にこだわらなくてもいいんじゃない？
But if they really wanted to erase the traitors, they wouldn't have to do it on the night of Watanagashi.
毎年たたりで一人鬼隠しで一人なんてスローペースで殺す必要はない。
Why don't they kill them all at once instead of killing them one by one, using the curse and demoning them away every year?
そうでしょ。
Wouldn't that make more sense? I've never heard the words demoning away before, but Rina clearly thought they have some kind of creepy, significant meaning, so I decided not to cut in.
つまりこれらの連続開始事件は綿流しの祭りに神聖性を取り戻そうとする意志があるの。
That means that they're using the series of mysterious deaths in order to resurrect the sacredness of the Watanagashi festival.
もっと踏み込んで言うと明治以降に失われた鬼ヶ淵村の神聖性を取り戻すための段階的イベント。
Step by step, they're reviving the sacred nature of Onigafuchi that was lost in the Meiji era.
彼らは最終的には太古の昔にそうだったような原理的なお社様信仰を復活させることを目的としている。
Their goal is to revive the level of disbelief. Their goal is to revive the level of belief in Oyashiro-sama that used to exist in primitive times.
お社様信仰。
Belief in Oyashiro-sama?
古出神社のことか。
Are you talking about the Furude Shrine?
そう。
Yes.
古出神社って崇められていると思う？
Do you think people revere the Furude Shrine now?
お年寄りの人は敬っているけど、それだけだよね。
Elder people respect the shrine, but that's it.
子供たちは境内を遊び場くらいにしか思ってないし、ほとんどの村人たちも地域の集会所くらいにしか思っていない。
Kids think of it as a place to play, and most of the villagers think of it as a place to gather for local events.
その神聖性は失われている。
Its sacredness has been lost.
それがダム戦争をきっかけに蘇ったの。
But with the dam conflict, it started to revive.
彼らはそれをお社様信仰を復活させるいい機会だと捉えた。
And they took it as a good opportunity to bring back the cult of Oyashiro-sama.
ってことはつまりお社様信仰の狂信者たちが裏で暗躍しているってことか。
So, you're saying that some fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers are behind all this?
そういうこと。
That's what I'm saying.
そもそもお社様信仰は御三家によって管理されていた。
The cult of Oyashiro-sama was managed by the three families to begin with.
だから御三家には現代にも脈々とお社様信仰を復活させなければならないという至上目的が受け継がれているの。
The three families passed down their ultimate goal of reviving the cult of Oyashiro-sama down to the present generation.
それを思えば御三家がダム戦争中に村を一丸にまとめたり、廃れかけていたお社様を引き合いに出し、古出神社にわざわざ同盟事務所を設けた理由も透けて見えてくる。
When you think about it, you'll understand why the three families took the initiative in uniting the villagers during the dam conflict, and why they set up the Onigifuchi Guardian's office in the Fude Shrine, citing Oyashiro-sama, who was almost forgotten at the time.
じゃあひなみ沢村連続開始事件ってのはひなみ沢御三家
So, the three families.
いやお社様を信仰する狂信的な集団の仕業
I mean, the fanatical Oyashiro-sama worshippers orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths of Hinamizawa.
なら待てよどうして高野さんが殺されなきゃならないんだ
But wait, why would they kill Takano-san?
それは御三家が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれた太古からずっと隠してきたこの村のある重大な秘密に関係があるの
Because she discovered the important secret of this village. The three families have been hiding it since the era of Onigifuchi.
それを暴かれるとお社様という神の神聖性が失われる
If that secret is revealed, the sacredness of Oyashiro-sama will be lost.
だから彼らはミオさんの研究が確信に近づいたことを知り消したの
They found out that Mio-san was getting close to the secret, and that's why they killed her. I hate to interrupt this, long exposition thing. I've been reading a bunch here, so I feel like it's only natural. I need to spout some nonsense, but I'm not saying it's exactly this, and it's obviously not as potentially bad or, I guess you could even say as dumb as it, but the way that if we're interpreting Takano to be the creep that she is, that I'm so dead set on being convinced of, and her research being on the more conspiracy side of things, but also getting back to oh, this is how it was back then, and how it's this, and there's the conspiracy of the people and the families that hold the power, and they're doing this, and if I say anything, then I'm gonna be I'm gonna be in trouble, and now I'm gonna pass on this knowledge to this little girl, and then she's gonna take it and she's gonna pour over it, and she's gonna get enwrapped in it. It's so, I mean, you could probably make this argument about any kind of growing conspiracy theory thing, but it's so even current day coded of those types of people that are highly susceptible to falling into these conspiracy theory rabbit hole type things, where then their whole life starts getting consumed, and then they're constantly paranoid that if they get found out that they have this knowledge, and they try to spread the knowledge, that they're going to get found out, and people coming after them and all this. There's such a again, you could probably make the argument that that's the case with most any conspiracy theory adjacent situation, but it's just so much even current day, when you just sometimes catch glimpses of these people that have just fallen down so far down a rabbit hole that they have no hope of coming out, basically, or saving themselves, and their whole life becomes enraptured in these things that aren't actually happening, but they're so convinced that they are, and that they have knowledge that no one else can get a hold of, and then they start getting obviously conspiracy theory collective hive mind-ish things, where it's then it starts growing, and people are oh, these people understand what I'm feeling or what I know, or this knowledge that's passing around, and then you get those really bit weird and very bad conspiracy theories that end up popping up and are harmful to all parties involved, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. That's all to bring it back to the game. I think you have Takano, who's doing her thing for whatever reason. We still don't 100% know why, as I was mentioning earlier. But she's, at the very least, very enraptured in the history of this place, probably. I would assume that's not fake at all on her end. But then you have her spreading this to impressionable minds that have either slight ties to it, or reasons to believe and reasons to fall into the rabbit hole. You have Rina here and her past and her history, and then her being close to obviously the families and all that. And also, not only all that, but like she's also there's probably like a psychological thing. Like she's currently mentally like fragile. She literally murdered a couple people. Her brain, whether she knows or not, is probably like freaking out about getting caught about that. So there's probably like some kind of instance where it's like when your whole being is being consumed, and she's like outwardly, her body is like kind of acting like it's ill or sick. It seems like we're getting across here, like, and she's able to just go home and read these scrapbooks of like this thing being taught and all. Is any of those babbling making sense? And then the previous chapter, we saw the same thing. Takano, impressionable mind. Shion, pissed off at the families. Shion, pissed off about Satoshi's situation. She had a pretty shit life with the cards that were dealt in her hands, even though, as we learned later on in the last chapter, she was supposed to be the Mion. She was not supposed to be the Shion in theory. And so she's feeling bad. She's pissed off at her family. She's pissed at the Sonozaki family. She gets a seed planted in her by Takano a bit. And then the rest is history there. Like, I don't know what the point of all this I'm bringing up, but it's just like, it's a thing where like, one, to bring it back to the game, I don't think any of this is necessarily 100% true. I think we're supposed to just, well, maybe not where we're supposed to, but I'm concluding that I think this is impressionable Rina, whose life has taken a couple really weird turns recently, is now very easily swayed and susceptible to this. And then separately from that, to link this to like real world thing, it feels very much like being like listening to people that have been consumed by a weird conspiracy theory thing and hearing how they ramble about it and stuff, and how it just becomes their whole personality in life, Anyway, they found out that Mio-san was getting close to the secret, and that's why they killed her.
その重大な秘密ってのは何なんだ?
What's this important secret?
それを知ると俺も狙われるってんだろうけど、上等だぜ。
I don't care if I put myself in danger. I need to know.
だからそれはまだ言いたくない。
I don't want to tell you yet.
私自身が10割の確証を得るまで言いたくない。
I don't want to tell you until I'm 100% sure about it.
多分今ここで話しても圭一君は耐えきれなくなって笑い出してしまうに違いないもの。
I'm pretty sure that right now you just laugh.
おいおい、俺がそんなやつに見えるかよ。
Hey, do you think I'm that kind of guy?
もう少し時間が欲しいの。
I just need a little more time.
あまりの事実に私ですら受け入れきれていないの。
I can't accept the truth myself because it sounds so impossible.
だからもう少し時間を欲しいの。
So, I need some time.
お願い。
Please.
わかった。
I understand.
今日ここで話したことは誰にも喋っちゃダメだよ。
Don't tell anybody about what we talked about today.
みーちゃんとリカちゃん、もちろんさとこちゃんにもダメ。
Not even Mi-chan, Rika-chan, or Satoko-chan.
わかったよ。
Okay.
じゃあ圭一君はもう行って。
Well, you should go now.
私はもう少し辺りを伺ってから行く。
I'll take a look around for a while before I go home.
用心に過ぎるということはないからね。
I can't be too careful anymore. Rina ducked low in the bushes and moved away. I was left alone there. The cries of the cicadas surrounded around me, making it seem as if I was alone there the whole time. I started walking, still dumbfounded. In the end, Rina didn't tell me the secret because she was afraid of putting me in danger. But she told me clearly that there are people who want to resurrect the cult of Oishiro-sama, and that they're among the 3 families that control the entire village. They orchestrated the series of mysterious deaths for that purpose, and they killed Takano-san because she got too close to the secret they wanted to hide. Rina met Takano-san and happened to obtain the scrapbooks in which Takano-san wrote about her research. Rina still can't believe the secret written in the scrapbooks because it's just too crazy. Hey, come on, Rina. You're kidding me, right? It's like one of those comic book stories. A mysterious occult group is plotting a conspiracy. I mean, it's not funny even if it's a joke. But Rina is right about one thing. Even if this is true, it's really hard to believe. I understand why Rina wanted to wait to tell me the secret. Maybe she was just fooled by Takano-san. But Takano-san was murdered for real. So is it also true that someone is following Rina, looking for the scrapbooks? I remember, Rina said that a white van was following her. You can see white vans anywhere. I bet there are a lot in this village alone. She might just be oversensitive to everything right now. Rina hasn't recovered from the shock since that day. That's probably why she got the idea into her head that the police or someone else is coming after her. I didn't cut in while she was talking. I think I did the right thing. If I had said that it was ridiculous or something to her face, Rina wouldn't have trusted me ever again. At that point, however, I gasped. Uh-oh. A white van was parked on the side of the street. I wasn't sure if this was the same car that passed by earlier, since I didn't see the plate number. But the number of people in the car and the ambience of it was similar to the one earlier. And there's one other thing that looked suspicious about it. There was no reason to park here. It was on a small road in the middle of the woods. There's nothing around here. No traffic lights, no vending machines, and no public phones. I probably wouldn't notice it under ordinary circumstances, but I felt something was wrong. And once I noticed how odd it was definitely suspicious. There were 4 men in work uniforms in the white van. The driver was smoking a cigarette, but the other men were just sitting there doing nothing. If they wanted to take a break or have a smoke, they could have chosen a better place than here. It was possible that they stopped because they had to go to the bathroom really badly, but it didn't seem that way either. They didn't look as comfortable or relaxed like they would if they were taking a break. They looked like they were waiting for something to happen. There was a deep tension in that car. Could they possibly be waiting for Rina? No way. I didn't see anybody walking around here. This road is a back road. Nobody really uses this road, let alone by car. But it's possible. I felt bad for Rina to even think about it, but this must be something that she got into her head because she's feeling victimized or something. She must be imagining things because she's still nervous from when her friends caught her in the act of killing Rina and Teppei.
Nii-chan.
Hey, young man. I heard someone say that when I passed by the van. He couldn't mean me. He didn't even know who I was. So I assumed he was talking to one of the other people in the car. I pretended I didn't hear him, and I kept walking by. And then, he said it again. Oh, and honked the horn as well.
兄ちゃん、すまんね。
Hey, young man, excuse me.
学校の帰りかいね。
Are you on your way home from school? He had a strong accent similar to that of the older villagers. He must live here, but I didn't know him. I could tell he didn't know me either, because he didn't call me by my name.
はい、そうですけど。
Yes, I am.
兄ちゃん、学校からこの道をずっと歩いてきたんで。
You've been walking on this road all the way from school, right?
ちょうど文房具屋の角を曲がって。
You turned the corner where the stationery store is, right?
そうですけど。
Yes.
何か
So? They were probably lost, I thought. This village has many small turns, and you can easily get lost when you try to take a shortcut. So they must have been waiting for someone to ask for directions. But then, he said something disturbing.
兄ちゃんさ、この道の途中で女の子に会わんかったかいね。
Uh-oh. Young man, didn't you see... Young man! Don't feel down, you said, young man. Pick yourself up the ground. Young man, didn't you see a girl on the way here?
え、え
Huh? What?
白い帽子に白い服を着た女の子なんよ。
A girl with a white hat and white clothes.
紫のリボンもついと。
With a purple ribbon on it?
会わんかったかいね。
Did you see her? They were definitely talking about Rina.
いえ、
No,
会ってないです。
I didn't. I wasn't ready to hear them ask that. Rather, I was scared. That's why my voice got all shaky. Up until that point, I couldn't believe Rina's story. I thought it was ridiculous. I actually laughed, if only to myself. That's why I wasn't ready at all. My heart was beating fast and I was sweating all over. I immediately answered, no, I didn't, but it might have sounded like an obvious lie. The driver stared into my eyes. He looked like he was trying to figure out if I was lying or not, and my legs started to shake. I felt like a frog under the glare of a snake, and I couldn't move a muscle for a while. But I think the same went for those men too. They were clearly a suspicious group, and they had just asked a villager about a girl out of the blue. Anybody would get suspicious. And I was right. The man broke the ice and started making excuses before I even asked him why he wanted to know about the girl.
ああ、そんな深い意味はないんね。
Well, I was asking for no particular reason.
さっき女の子を追い抜いたのによ。来たのが男の子だったから、あれと思っただけなんね。
We just passed by a girl earlier, but you're a boy, so we were just wondering.
そうですか。
Oh, okay.
忘れてえな。
Please forget it.
ごめんな、兄ちゃん。
Sorry for the trouble, young man.
うちらもう行くんて。
We're off. The man started the engine and drove away. After they left, I saw nothing. That's right, nothing. There was no reason why they had to park here. So, were they really waiting for Rena? Crazy. Lunch takeout list number 2. Holy shit, we're being treated to another takeout list. Alright, let's read this tip. Furthermore, it's important that we closely monitor her father, since he has also suffered mental shock from the divorce and has been trying hard to take care of the patient. There's a strong possibility that he may develop an induced delusional disorder. As a first step of mental care, one should listen to the patient's story carefully without denying it. That's the most basic of basics. However, when the patient and the listener are related, it's easy for the listener to become deeply influenced by the patient's delusions. Additionally, delusional parasitosis is widely known to make people highly impressionable, and the influence sometimes can spread throughout a whole community. Therefore, even if several people claim to acquire parasitic infection, it doesn't necessarily prove the existence of a parasite. Some of the phone calls to the healthcare centers for the extermination of pests are nothing but a mass delusion. Since the subject matter of delusion in this case is extremely rabid, patients might harm or even kill each other in abnormal ways, believing this to be the treatment for the disease. They might also give up hope and commit suicide together, in the worst case. This influential delusional disorder, otherwise known as shared psychotic disorder, shows a particularly strong possibility of influencing close companions. Anyone who is going to contact the patients must be made to understand that the patients are under medical treatment, must be warned not to be influenced by the patient's delusions. Individuals who are likely to be easily influenced are the patient's family members and people who deeply care about the patients, such as boyfriends or girlfriends. Yeah, but where's the food order? Huh? What about the back of that paper, huh? Huh? There we go. Good stuff. Good stuff. A bit of a cliffhanger, as always. But interesting. Interesting. How is this gonna shake out? Because I said at the start, or not the very start, but close to the start, that like the water gun thing took place, and then the way it ended made me think like, oh, for somehow this chapter is going to end like a duel to the death somehow between Kechi and Reina. But now that would just make, so far with what's happening in the plot, it just doesn't feel like it would make a ton of sense if that was the case. I still... Takano. What is up with her? What is up with her? What does she get out of this? What is she doing? What's to gain? Why is she the way she is? What's her angle? I don't know. This chapter is confusing. It brings up a lot more questions than answers. So far, at least. Probably intentionally, right? You would think out of like an 8-chapter thing, you'd get fed a lot of answers in 5, and then 6 has got to bring up a lot more questions, because then 7 and 8 you want to start slowly, exponentially ramping up conclusions, obviously in climaxes. That's how I think, at least. Interesting. I gotta check my schedule real quick. When is I'm trying to see. I'm trying to actually, I said at the I know it's just now you're just sitting in silence. So not ideal. Probably. I'm trying to make sure I will be here next Saturday, but I'm trying to see real life event things. Maybe this will help me. Okay, now we're good. Okay, no. It's towards the end of the week. I know I had just said at the top that I wasn't going to have that work thing, but now that I think about it, Sunday maybe? Or Saturday, 2 weeks from Saturday? There's like a thing that might be happening that I might be at, so I don't know. I'll know closer to it. So maybe like a week from now, I'll know. I'm so bad at planning things. When like events start coming up, and then I'm like, not only do I not keep track of things, and then my memory's bad, I'm like, I don't know what dates things are happening. And then I'm like, I don't know if I'm making it. I don't know if things are happening. I'm terrible. This is why I always say I don't have a hard schedule for these streams and stuff, generally speaking. And I know that's funny because I usually make Tuesdays and Saturdays, especially here for Higurashi, but yeah, I always susceptible, always possible that I miss them. Like I said, hopefully in like a week's time I'll know closer what my end of month schedule thing is, actually what's happening. So yeah, we'll end stream there. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Higurashi will be back Tuesday night. Should be back Tuesday night. Don't think that should be impacted at all. Tomorrow, I think I'll be on stream for a bit tomorrow. We have a couple game DLCs that we need to finish to permanently not consider the games knocked out on the channel. So one of those might pop up. We also have a chance to like add some new games because we've finished a bunch of things basically. But I'll probably want to finish some of these DLCs first so that those don't get lost in everything. Have yourself a nice rest of the night. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a great Sunday. Rest of the weekend. Rest up. Take it easy. Stay safe. Stay well. And I hope to see you in another stream. So, till then.